KAIZER's profile still hasn't changed, and that's fine. Let's keep tapping, guys. Let's keep tapping to 10K. We've got 72 people on the live. And ROOIKAT, I'm going to start your timer now at 10 minutes. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, okay. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to BULLPEN 1v1. Today, we've got KAIZER versus ROOIKAT. It's going to be an interesting one. The topic is right there on the screen. Let's keep tapping. That's tapping and sharing at the same time. Let's keep tapping. Let's keep sharing, and let's get this this debate going. Thank you so much. ROOIKAT, go ahead.
Thank you very much, host. I appreciate it, and thank you very much to my opponent as well. So we're going to start off and going to analyze the topic, which is Orania versus BEE. Cultural survival and transformation, or institutional racism. So my submission is the following, that Orania constitutes institutional racism comparable to or exceeding the framework of broad-based economic empowerment, or BEE, this rests then upon a profound fundamental mischaracterization of Orania. Now, naturally, we reject any systems of coercion and domination, either past or present, while affirming the right of communities to preserve their culture, language, and social institutions through voluntary association and lawful self-governance. Orania, therefore, thus stands not as a bastion of racial exclusion, but as a private, voluntary community devoted to the preservation of Afrikaner cultural and linguistic heritage. It embodies a lawful assertion of a minority self-determination entirely consonant with the Constitution, in a marked and decisive contrast to the state-enforced racial classifications inherent in BEE. Now, this debate of ours places in stark opposition the principle of private cultural survival and the mandate of compulsory societal transformation. The legal architecture, the historical record, and then, of course, empirical evidence inexorably establish that Orania advances the former while eschewing any perpetration of the latter. So it sounds a little confusing, but I'm going to elaborate. It's frequently, by critics naturally, contended that condemnation of Orania finds justification in parallel endorsement of BEE, portraying both as racially predicated. Now, I do concede without qualification that incontrovertible necessity of redressing the economic imbalances that we find in South Africa. But necessity does not dissolve constitutional limits, nor does it license the permanent racialization of law. While BEE represents a state-led effort towards transformation, grounded in constitutional remediation, such acknowledgement in no way authorizes the conflation of private cultural endeavor with a coercive statutory regime. BEE, by legislative decree, compels racial categorization by the state, imposing attendant benefits and obligations upon economic actors nationwide. It constitutes an overt and deliberate exercise of public authority, grounded in race, defensible, if defensible at all, solely upon the stringent criteria prescribed by Section 9(2) of the Constitution. Orania, in a diametric opposition, functions as a private share block company devoid of statutory racial predicates, bereft of state compulsion, and free from external mandate. Admission rests exclusively upon voluntary demonstration of commitment to Afrikaans proficiency, and communal values, sustained wholly by the contributions of the residents. This is the antithesis that lies at the very heart of the controversy. BEE entrenches race within the machinery of transformation. For the controversy at the heart of BEE is statutory, not accidental. The BEE Act embeds race as a legally operative criterion. Even Section 1 of the Act defines, quote-unquote, black people as the class at whom empowerment measures are targeted, and that, quote-unquote, broad-based black economic empowerment itself centers the participation of black people in ownership, management, procurement, and enterprise development. The statutory strategy and transformation charter in sections 11 and 12 further embed race within ongoing governance and framework of transformation. Orania, on the other hand, secures cultural continuity through the inviolable rights of association enshrined in sections 1831 and, of course, 235 of the Constitution, illustrating that pluralism accommodates both remedial action and voluntary cultural preservation without conflict. The incongruity in denouncing Orania as racist while defending BEE is manifest and unsustainable. Institutional racism, properly understood, demands coercion and systemic injury, elements satisfied only by the state, mandated racial regimes, and never by private demographic uniformity. In constitutional law, impact without coercion may offend social sensibilities, but it does not constitute institutional racism. As a Zulu proverb would loosely be translated into English, the elephant is not burdened by its own trunk. A community is freely elected course of cultural preservation imposes no undue encumbrance. It is inherent and enduring, unlike compulsory classifications that weigh heavily on the body politic. Therefore, if we look at other examples, like the Ingonyama Trust that preserves Zulu heritage, it has dedicated legislation. Orania seeks comparable preservation through private means, demonstrating that cultural rights, when equitably applied, strengthen all communities, where individual and collective humanity are then, of course, intertwined. The comparison is not historical, but structural. Both concern cultural continuity through territory and communal bound autonomy. So what are we in effect saying? We are saying that the state has mandated power to force people to do what it wants. On the other hand, we have a group of people, private citizens, who come together, who for themselves develop a community based on shared cultural values, shared linguistic values, and perhaps even religious values. Orania has a very strong rule, own labor. Nobody is exploited by cheap labor, no servants, no exploitation. They build, they farm, and they clean and generate their own power. That's self-reliance. The government makes no money except taxes from Orania, uses no public land, and it forces nothing on anybody else. So at the end of the day, we need to make sure that when we look at Orania and BEE, that we do not conflate private citizens and their rights conferred to them under the Constitution and public mandate by a legislature and legislation. So which naturally involves power, state power, coercion, and systemic harm that is imposed on others. Orania has none of these. Orania does not have power, it does not have coercion, it cannot exercise or exert systemic harm towards others. It's just a community of people living together that may look uncomfortable to outsiders, but discomfort is not racism. So in constitutional law, as I said earlier, impact without force is not institutional racism. And I therefore land, and I thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ROOIKAT, for your opening statement. KAIZER, your 10 minutes for your opening statement starts now.
All right, thank you. I find that Orania is a remnant of apartheid in every respect, because even self-determination is just apartheid hidden behind a euphemism, right? It's an equivalent of when Verwoerd said apartheid is not racism, it's good neighborliness. It's just a euphemism, basically. But in practice, it has all the components of apartheid. Now, people who support Orania or just justify it are people who haven't really decided that apartheid was wrong. Because it would be difficult to actually wish away the similarity between Orania and apartheid architecture. What Orania is doing is what I coined as passive apartheid, or even worse, it's passive ethnic cleansing. In other words, instead of expelling the undesirable element or the undesirable community in society, you withdraw. But the intention is to achieve ethnic purity, basically, white purity. Now, you just have to say it out loud to understand the historical connotations and the history of white purity, white ethnic exclusivity, basically. Now, I'm really not impressed by the euphemism because they only demonstrate the similarity between apartheid and Orania. But it goes even further. Not only is it structurally apartheid, there's even the blood of Verwoerd's DNA in the leadership of Orania right now. Now, this can't be a coincidence. It's mere continuity. You just have to say it. It's continuity. In other words, Karel Boshoff, who is the leader of Orania, is merely continuing with the vision of Verwoerd. In Orania, by the way, Verwoerd is seen as a hero. I can keep going on about the similarities, but I wish for those who are listening to actually memorize this phrase, passive apartheid or passive ethnic cleansing, because the goal is to wish away the existence of other ethnicities. And to say people are volunteering to this is really a moot point. It's immaterial to say people volunteer to something incorrect, something that has a legacy that was condemned by institutions like the United Nations. Excluding people, because you are only it only gives, sorry to address you because it sounds like I'm already reparting, but to present this as merely people preserving their own culture is only to preserve one side of the dynamic. While they are isolating themselves, they are also excluding others on a racial basis. And that element of exclusion is what makes it racist. Now, what Afrikaner nationalists want in particular is not cultural preservation, because there is no proof in history or in practice right now that diversity actually subverts or suppresses another culture. As we speak, there's over 600 schools which are Afrikaans medium schools. In other words, they only deal with Afrikaans only. And there's also over 2,000 schools which are parallel medium schools. In other words, Afrikaans and English are the mediums of instruction. And also, there are various forms of cultural expression from different communities which demonstrates that culture is not suppressed by diversity at all. So the justification of saying that in order for the culture to survive, people have to isolate themselves, is quite without merit, you know. And what English has demonstrated, actually, if anything, culture actually grows if you invest it in the majority. Right now, we are debating in English to demonstrate how actually investing your culture within the majority actually grows it rather than suppresses it. We wear Western clothes. We even celebrate Western holidays, which demonstrates even further that culture doesn't get eliminated by diversity. It doesn't get eliminated by inclusion. In fact, it actually grows. Now, Orania is fallacious in many respects. Orania, not only is Orania, what people neglect, or a lot of people don't know, the ownership of property in Orania is actually under communist a form of ownership, where basically the state owns the property under one master title deed. That is communism. Amongst other repugnant features of Orania, even economically, it has also the remnants of communism. The people in Orania do not own their title deeds. They cannot administer their property at will without consultation. This is textbook what Malema is actually advocating for, the state owning property on behalf of individuals. It is ironic for me to find that Orania is vindicated as a progressive society or a progressive community when it's showing such repugnant signs of regress. Now I want to deal with the fallacy of achievements which are attributed to Orania. You know, for the life of me, I tried to do research on Orania, but I couldn't find anything. The only thing I could find is what is propagated by Orania itself. This is another remnant of apartheid, the strict control of information that disseminates to the public. The only people who have a say or who represent events that are happening in Orania or statistics in Orania are actually the leaders of Orania themselves or the custodians of information. This is what was happening during apartheid, where information was controlled strictly. That is why images like the pictures of Mandela, certain songs, were not allowed. Now, the evidence is there to the objective person that it can't be a coincidence that Karel Boshoff, being the direct descendant of Verwoerd, would have inherited everything that Verwoerd was intending to achieve in society. There is a genocidal intent implied within Orania. The idea of wishing away the majority population in their natural habitat. The intention of Orania is to passively eliminate the existence of other races and ethnicities. Be it passive as it may be, but the intention is there. It means that Orania just lacks the means of asserting this intention of eliminating other races. They chose to withdraw because they don't have the means to assert this intention of eliminating the existence of other races and ethnicities. There is no way that Orania can be justified unless we also justify apartheid simultaneously. Just a second. In terms of law, people like to selectively quote Section 235, which vindicates somewhat Orania. But Orania stands in violation of Section 21.3, which provides for the right to enter, reside, and remain anywhere in the world. Citizens, all citizens have, not in the world, in the Republic, all citizens have the right to enter, reside, remain anywhere in the Republic. Black people and white people of other ethnicities, in fact, are not allowed to reside and remain in Orania. They can't even buy property. And to say that other racists volunteered to participate in this racism, it wishes away the interests of other communities. Those communities which are interested to buy property in Orania or look for business opportunities in Orania are excluded on the basis of race and ethnicity. Now, from a BEE perspective, it's actually, it shows that people haven't read the actual document because it's quite flexible. There's a section of the Employment Equity Act which provides that there shouldn't be absolute exclusion of even those people who don't fall underneath the designated group. In other words, it protects even those who actually don't qualify for, oh no, okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Kaizer. That's your time exhausted. ROOIKAT, your 10 minutes for a rebuttal starts now.
Thank you very much, host.
Pardon, host. The rebuttals are 10 minutes, not 5 minutes. Okay.
I'm giving 10 minutes. You can use it if you can, and if you don't want to, or you don't use all of it, it's okay. But I'm just making a concession.
No problem. No, 10 minutes is okay.
Thank you very much, host. Well, that was quite a lot from my opponent, and yeah, we didn't get to hear much about BEE in his submission there, but it does sound that he has a problem with Orania. Now, be that as it may, I'm going to just touch on some of the points that he raised in his submission. Naturally, the big one, Orania is just a euphemism for racism. It's a remnant of apartheid, and it is a bad place, in effect. So that kind of misses the whole point of why we are debating. We have not come to the conclusion that they are racist. As my opponent said, you could not find any research on Orania. So for him to make this statement becomes quite tedious or unsustainable in a certain sense, because what is he basing his assumption on if he could not find research? I, on the other hand, did do research. And as it comes to be, Orania, for example, is not communist. It is a private share block scheme, very similar to a block of flats. So when you live in a flat, you buy a sectional title. And that's what happens when you live in Orania. You get a sectional title and you become part of the town management or town council, and you make decisions pertaining to the town. So it's not communist at all. They use capitalist means in which they sell and buy, and there is no central authority that governs Orania in that sense. Unlike BEE, which does stem from a central authority. And BEE, unfortunately, is very communist because it sets quotas, it sets targets, it says how many people of a certain race, of a certain gender, can be in a department, for example, or who can participate with the government. If you want private contracts, you have to have a certain number of black folks, white folks, Indian folks, and so forth. So that's very opposite in terms of Orania. Then, in terms of isolation that my learned opponent mentioned, Orania is, contrary to popular belief, not isolationist. They engage very much with the local community, especially the two big towns, Hopetown and Douglas. And we know by the government's own statistics that the municipalities governing Hopetown and Douglas are unfortunately not functioning as they should. And a lot of the times, Douglas and Hopetown call on Orania to help, for example, with ambulance services. The ambulance service in Douglas and Hopetown currently only has one ambulance and it does not work, but Orania's ambulance does work. And Orania happily helps both towns when people are in medical emergency need, for example. And then we're talking also about security. The SAPS on both towns only have one patrol car, maybe two on a good day. So they also rely on private security to help combat crime in the area, which is linked to Oranya's private security. And again, looking at the BEE legislation, these are not things that spontaneously can occur within BEE. BEE legislation is a very roboticized, mechanical thing that artificially forces people to act in a specific way. The government, in effect, is saying to the citizens, I don't trust you to work together. I don't trust you to make good decisions. Therefore, I will force you with my state power to do the things that I think you should be doing. Now, naturally, we look at other examples of cultural communities in South Africa, which are not isolationist, who are not looking for ethnic purity, who are not genocidal. That is absolutely very, very mischaracterization of Orania. If we look at Ingonyama Trust, naturally that's the big one. That's the big act or piece of legislation that governs the Zulu territories, and it points to the Zulu king. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, we don't go about criticizing them. But then something that I need to make also clear, two things rather. Orania doesn't pretend to be a progressive community. It does not want to be a progressive community. It's a conservative community. And with that in mind, we also have to look at the Constitution, Section 36. Section 36 is the limitation clause on rights. So it says that you have all these rights in the Bill of Rights, but they can be limited. So my opponent mentioned Section 23, the right to housing. But you have to understand, within the framework of Section 36, that right can be limited. So you cannot always have everything. So the Constitution promises a lot of things within the Bill of Rights, but the Bill of Rights is a very limiting framework if you apply Section 36. And unfortunately, Section 36 is also applied within BEE. BEE is a piece of legislation that now we say we're in a multiracial community or a multiracial country, and racism has no place. However, we impose Section 36 on our rights so that BEE can exist. And that's kind of the two-edged sword of that section. On the one hand, it can provide logical limitations, and on the other hand, it can provide these illogical appearances where we have a racist piece of legislation and it can be implemented on a national level. And then it kind of becomes where do we want to be as a society, and what do we think is the most viable way forward. So at the end of the day, I think my opponent has a bit of a prejudicial view towards Orania, and I don't think that his submissions were all that well confounded or coagulated towards Orania. I think also he didn't touch much on BEE as a legislation. I would like to hear what benefits BEE brings in the long term. As we've seen, it only has benefited around about 100 people in the past 30 years. Well, not even 30 years, it's been 20 plus years. But then again, we want to move forward as a South African society. We have the Constitution, but it's not working. We have a few players that are benefiting, and the rest of South Africans are not benefiting. So while Orania is slowly building in silence, there in the Northern Cape, where they're bothering nobody. I think BEE legislation should be completely dismantled and let the citizens themselves sort their market and economic relationships out. We have very strong labor laws. We can do it. There's nothing that needs to compel us. But then again, it seems that the state wants power, it wants coercion, it wants to compel us, very much like a communist dictatorship. But yeah, that's I'm going to land with that one. Thank you very much, host.
Thank you so much, ROOIKAT, for keeping to the time. Appreciate it. KAIZER, your 10 minutes for a rebuttal start now.
All right. Thank you. EBE has a multidimensional justification which covers all fields of knowledge. Now, I'm going to start with the political justification of BEE. And I will quote Mandela himself when he said, there is a necessity to create an economy which will correct the injustices of the past. And he mentioned how the resources of South Africa are monopolized by a white minority and even a few individuals within that minority. That stands as a credible justification from a political perspective of BEE. Secondly, sociologically, BEE is also justified under Robert K. Merton's Matthew effect. The Matthew effect basically holds that those who have will tend to have more, and those who don't have will tend to be stuck in a cycle of lack. Basically, it's borrowed from the biblical book of Matthew. You can look it up for greater reading. It's Robert K., the Matthew effect. Now, philosophically, James Rachel's theory of neutralizing luck, where people who have the luck of being born into privilege will have a tendency to do better because of the mediational tools that they are born into. Now, in order to neutralize this luck, you have to create laws which actually enable those who are disadvantaged. Now, to move on to the legal justification of BEE, Section 9, subsection 2 of the Constitution says equality includes the full and equal enjoyment of all rights and freedoms, and to promote the achievement of equality, legislative and other measures designed to protect and advance persons or categories of persons disadvantaged by unfair discrimination may be taken. Now, this is literally a constitutional instruction upon the government to mandate a law that is meant to correct injustices of the past. And subsection 5 of the same section says discrimination on one or more grounds, which were mentioned in the same section, is unfair unless it is established that the discrimination is fair. This is literally literal reading of the Constitution. Now, under Section 25, it says, property may be expropriated only in terms of a law of general application. Now, please cram this law of general application, because ROOIKAT seems to think that Orania can apply limitation of rights without actually state authority. It can't be. I don't know how he read the law. For public purpose or in public interest, right? It says that property may be expropriated for public purpose or in public interest. Then it goes on to say public interest includes advancing those who were previously advantaged. Again, legal justification of BEE from a constitutional perspective. Now, you only quoted one section of the Constitution, I think two, subsection limitation of rights to justify Orania. I'm still going with the Constitution. Now, it goes on to Section 217, subsection 2, when it talks about procurement to favor the previously disadvantaged. Right? You can read at length. I'm trying to manage time. You can read Section 217 of the Constitution, subsection 12. It goes at length, basically, of how procurement must benefit those who were previously disadvantaged. Then Section 195, subsection 1I, says public administration must be broadly representative of the South African people. Broadly representative. Now, it means that it must represent women, children, disabled people, and other demographics. I don't know why 3,000 people who are Afrikaner believe that the world revolves around them, basically. You know, if something doesn't benefit them, even if it benefits the greater part of the 60 million, then it's racist. You know, it goes on to say, with employment personnel management practices based on ability, objectivity, fairness, and the need to redress the imbalances of the past to achieve broad representation. Broad representation means inclusion of all these other races. That is why BEE was designed to accommodate even Chinese and Indian people under the category of black. This defines how inherently this policy includes as many people as possible, contrary to what Orania is all about and what my opponent is claiming. Now, not only is BEE compatible with the South African Constitution, it's also compatible with international law. Right? I'm branching out to international law, which is a point where my opponent will never be able to reach in justifying Orania, because it is repugnant even by international standards. Now, the International Convention on Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination explicitly states that special measures taken to secure the advancement of certain racial or ethnic groups shall not be deemed racial discrimination. So it's literally contrary to legal international law to claim that BEE is actually racist. It's just subjective philosophy that my opponent is coining from his own opinion. You know, it can't be verified. And by the way, when I say for the life of me I couldn't find information on Orania, I meant information that will pass the CREP and the SIFT test of evaluating the credibility of information, right? I doubt that even the information you present will pass the SIFT test, because I take the debate seriously. Most of the information that is available is from Facebook and Instagram posts. Imagine that. That is the information that's available on Orania. Not to say I couldn't find anything, but I couldn't find anything that is credible, that will give this debate the respect and the credibility it deserves. Now, it goes on after to touch on, also, he says that the implementation of BEE is rigid, which is also incorrect. Because firstly, merit is infused into BEE. That is why you find recurring phrases like suitable candidates, you know, people with appropriate qualifications. And it also provides for a nuanced approach in applying these affirmative action laws. Now, to say that these laws are rigid gives the impression that you haven't really looked into these laws comprehensively. Now, if you look at the, for example, Employment Equity Act, which is a child of the BEE, basically. No, pardon me, that's incorrect. But generally, affirmative action is not applied rigidly. And to verify this, I will refer to the Employment Equity Act, which says that a nuanced approach, affirmative action must be applied in a nuanced way. And economically active population statistics are but one of many factors to consider when applying affirmative action. Now, I've provided for the political, sociological, philosophical, and legal justification of BEE. I'm moving on to the economic justification of BEE. Putting money into more black hands, basically the majority population. You just have to say it out loud to understand that automatically it will grow the economy. And I'm not thumb sucking. There's actually a basis for this. On most metrics, economic metrics that you can refer to, South Africa actually achieved its highest economic achievements or accomplishments under BEE. The highest GDP for South Africa in all its history was in 2011, totaling approximately $458.2 billion. Foreign direct investment, contrary to what people who don't like PE like to say, it chases away investment. It reached its highest in 2021 at 40.66 billion. The HDI, Human Development Index, peaked in 2023 with a score of 0.741 points. The GDP per capita, it peaked in 2011 at 8,646 US dollars. And the all share index reached a new all-time high on January 23, 2026. And I can keep going, like it's just I'm out of time, sorry guys.
Yes, KAIZER, your time has expired. Thank you so much. Gentlemen, we're now going to go into the questions and probes or cross-examination. This is where the rubber meets the road, basically. You both know the rules of engagement and the rules of conduct as well. I've DM'd them to you. Guys, let's please keep tapping. We are at 51k likes at the moment. Let's keep tapping and appreciating your panelists as well. ROOIKAT, you'll have 10 minutes to ask KAIZER or make statements to towards what he said. You are fully in charge of that 10 minutes. If you feel like your question has been answered, you can reclaim your time. If you feel like it's taking too long and wasting your time, you can reclaim your time and he will immediately cease to speak.
Thank you very much, host. All right. So what I've heard a lot about Orania and racism, but not a lot about the law itself. You did mention something about Section 195 of the Constitution. Do you know what Section 195 of the Constitution pertains to?
I believe it pertains to public administration.
Yes, that is correct. So when you are extrapolating a law that is meant to explicitly target the private sector and you're citing Section 195 of the Constitution, what you are creating is a false dichotomy. The Constitution is set up for the government, and what BEE is trying to do is artificially engineer society. So I just would like to point that is a very important distinction that we need to make there. Furthermore, you talked about Section 25 of the Constitution, which is our favorite private property clause. Do you know what a law of general application is?
The law that applies to everybody regardless of identity.
I would say 5 out of 10 for that one. What it means is that it's a law passed by Parliament, and BEE is a law passed by Parliament. And what it then says is that if you can limit the rights, you can limit rights of people by a law of general application. So it's important to understand that in terms of Orania and its cultural survival, its cultural transformation, and versus BEE, which is in effect institutional racism, that's what we are talking about. BEE comes out of the institution, which is the state. Furthermore, I think you also mentioned a few things about BEE being applied on merit. Where, or do you know of some, maybe a good example of merit-based BEE?
Yeah, I think Patrice Motsepe would be a poster child actually of that.
Okay. Would Patrice Motsepe have got it exclusively on merit, or would his race play a factor?
No, actually, Patrice Motsepe before BEE, he actually achieved his mining, distinguishable mining achievements before he was even a BEE partner of Anglo-American. In other words...
Excellent. Okay, hold on. That point that Patrice Motsepe achieved before BEE actually goes to show that Patrice Motsepe did not need BEE. He was successful before the legislation. So why can't other folks also be successful? There's nothing wrong with him. They can also do it. Patrice is perhaps one of a few, but he did not need BEE legislation to help him. What in effect we have seen is that only the top few party-connected people in the country have benefited from BEE. A thing that you might have heard of, KAIZER deployment. So those who control the levers of power in the state gives the tenders to their friends. And that's a gross misapplication of this law and what it's trying to do. And if I understand correctly from you, this law is trying to redress the injustices of the past. Is that correct?
Yes, indeed.
And when do we know, as South Africans, when will we know when the injustices of the past are fully addressed?
Well, that's a question that even you won't be able to answer when I ask you about Orania, to say how do we know when the cultural rights of Orania are fully secured?
So do you know or do you not know when will we redress the past?
No, it doesn't. I can't establish a date. The question is ridiculous, I'm sorry to say.
To the contrary, the question is not ridiculous because it points towards where do we draw the line of state intervention in private lives? Meaning that when do we say that the people of South Africa are mature enough, intelligent enough, and self-sufficient enough to take care of their own futures, and that we do not need a piece of legislation to prop up people? You know, that's a very important thing. We sometimes refer to it as a sunset clause. You know, you go up into a point and say, now we have achieved our goals. BEE does not have a goal that it wants to achieve. It's broadly defined as, yes, we want an X amount of quotas and people in certain positions, but we will never know when to stop or when to say now is the time that we can say we trust the public. Because the government does not trust the public. It cannot allow the people to be trusted. Otherwise, why would we want to use the government in any case? So that's something that we really have to think about, is when do we end this type of thinking of legislating artificial success? Because it is what it is at the end of the day. It's only artificial success. And if the BEE legislation was as utopic as you claim, then we would have seen a lot less problems in economic sector and in the market. Currently, our economy is very underperforming. I mean, growth of the GDP is what, 0.1% annum per annum. So, you know, that's not good. What I think that we can agree on is that there needs to be a limit on how far we take this legislation. And this legislation cannot continue. Orania, on the other hand, plays no marked difference upon your life or my life. What they do in Orania today or tomorrow has no impact on whether or not we have money in the bank, or we have a car, or we have food to eat. There's nothing to that effect. However, legislation like BEE does have a big effect, because legislation that's developed in this way will, in effect, determine a lot of things, either for the positive or the negative for people. Would you not agree to that?
I don't.
So do you not agree that legislation has impact on people's lives?
In the context that you are trying to present it, no, I don't.
So legislation has no effect on people's lives. Okay, that's
In the
fine.
context that your loaded question is trying to depict. Thank you.
No, there's no trick. It's just a straightforward question. But nonetheless, does Urania have an effect on your daily life?
Firstly, to base the indictment of an institution on
It's
my
just a
own
yes or no
subjective
question.
experience is incorrect. No, it's another a false question. It's a false
No,
question.
no. Will Urania affect whether you have food tomorrow? Yes or no?
No.
And the premise can be extrapolated from there on further. Urania as a community does not have any threat value to it. It is somewhere there in the Northern Cape, and it does not much. But a piece of paper passed in Cape Town, that piece of paper can make or break a person, as we have seen in the past with certain racial legislation that was in effect. And now for us to stand in 2026 to say either we make a clean break with racial laws is really important, because otherwise we just keep on perpetuating the same things that we decry, and we're going to go nowhere. So thank you very much, and I'll end there.
Thank you so much, ROOIKAT. That's your tap. Well, you've got 5 seconds left. Guys, let's keep tapping. Please keep tapping, keep sharing, and appreciate your debaters. KAIZER, you 10 minutes is up next. You are fully in charge to make statements or ask questions.
You know, ROOIKAT, is quite disappointing for you to subject me to two Kokwe ad hominems. You know, because you didn't attend to the merits of the argument. You actually went for the person, like my own personal experience. You know, it's quite unfortunate. I expected better from you. That was pure ad hominem. And you didn't attack any merits specifically. Now, I want to ask you a question, because you mentioned Section 36, almost to say that it subverts the Section 21 right of people to reside and remain anywhere that they want. Now, does Orania actually have the authority to apply Section 36?
Yes, it does.
Which basis?
Common law and private law.
Yeah, no, let me read out the section for you. Firstly, I want to correct you on what you said, 5 out of 10 on the law of general application. Let me read.
KAIZER, are you there?
I'm still here.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, firstly, Section 36 says the rights in the Bill of Rights may be limited only in terms of law of general application, to the extent that the limitation is reasonable and justifiable in an open and democratic society based on human dignity, equality, and freedom, taking into account all relevant factors, including the nature of the right, yada, 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 yada. Now, what gives Orania legislative authority over South Africa?
It does not give any legislative authority over South Africa.
Who is implied when the section speaks of law of general application? Who makes this law of general application? Who is the custodian of making these laws?
Parliament.
Now, does Orania have the authority to make these laws?
No, they don't.
Thank you. So I don't see how you could actually use Section 36 to say Orania has authority to limit the Section 21 rights. That's a very gross misrepresentation of the law. I don't know if you did it deliberately or not. Secondly, just a second, guys. You know, I'm asking. Now, I want to deal with the 5 out of 10 my teacher gave me in defining the law of general application. Now, do you still remember the answer I gave you in terms of what the law of general application means?
Yes.
And what was my answer?
It was a law made by the legislature, in effect.
The law made by?
The legislature, a parliament.
No, that wasn't my answer. I'm sorry.
Okay.
In any case, I was correct to say it's a law that doesn't isolate a class of people based on their identity, right? But you chose to give me marks without actually understanding the law yourself. But furthermore, I provided comprehensive legal justification of BEE, not only on a constitutional basis, but on UN law. And the only thing you could do to challenge this legal justification, after a litany of laws that I quoted to justify BEE, you could only challenge Section 195 to say it speaks for the public sector specifically. It doesn't speak for the private sector. But what I meant to demonstrate with that law is that there's a litany of constitutional laws which actually mandate the advancement of previously disadvantaged people. That is what it was meant to serve. Now, you've hardly quoted laws, ROOIKAT. In fact, you've depended only on Section 25 and a misapplication of Section 36, which you now have admitted that it was a misapplication. I have quoted a litany of laws and even international law. Yeah. What you call Orania is basically justified in your own philosophies, basically. It's justified in your own opinion. And again, I reiterate, the reason why I said, for the life of me, I couldn't find a source of information that could pass the SIFT method of evaluation. Could you find such an information? Maybe you could refer us to it.
Yes, I could find the information.
Yeah, can you please, for our benefit, give us references that you relied on, which could pass the CREP and the SIFT method of evaluating information, please? I hope it's not Facebook posts.
No, they're not Facebook posts, they are books.
All right, please, can you quote the sources?
You'll just have to bear with me.
No problem.
Definitely share my sources. My apologies, my computer is a little bit slow.
All right. While you are still looking, I want to reiterate, guys. You know that I actually quoted figures of when our economy reached milestones after BEE. I even quoted the foreign direct investment, right? How it peaked under BEE. Contrary to the claim that BEE chases away investment, but the indicators say there's actually more investment which came in after BEE, you know. I actually quoted figures, and my opponent basically rebutted me with cold narrative to say it's chasing away investors. How so? Demonstrate. Tell us the figures. You know, the only person in terms of prominent business people who has complained about BEE, to the best of my knowledge, is Elon Musk. I don't know anybody else. Afrikaners are actually thriving under BEE. We talk about Capitec, you know, it's Afrikaner owned, and they've made a lot of money by investing their companies in black customers, basically, who are the majority. This again is an indictment on the economic policy of Orania. You look at ShopRite. ShopRite even went international, which is an Afrikaner-owned company. which is contrary to the oppression that you are presenting, that white men are basically oppressed by these policies. These white men who are thriving, how are they doing it? In fact, I believe it's Ernest Roos or another member of AfriForum who admitted that whites have actually become richer under these laws rather than poorer. There is no objective measure to quantify how BEE has actually affected the wealth of whites as a community. Now, I'm not going to reduce myself to ad hominems where I ask you personally how BEE has affected you directly, because I find it ridiculous. But then again, I've quoted figures, I've referenced successful Afrikaner-owned companies, I've actually referenced law, not only domestic law, but international law. And you've hardly provided anything but two sections which were conveniently quoted and basically misled by omission. You know, generally the spirit and the purport of the Constitution allows, in fact, it demands BEE. It actually demands BEE. If BEE was not created, then the government would be in conflict with the Constitution. Thank you, host. I hope you have the sources for us, ROOIKAT.
Yeah, thank you so much, KAIZER. That is your 5 minutes complete. ROOIKAT, I don't know if you want to continue with your closing statement.
Let's do the closing statement.
Right, okay, not a problem at all. I'll give you 5 minutes for your closing statement, ROOIKAT. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. We have heard a lot about Orania tonight and about BEE, and a very sharp pivot from my opponent from his initial opening, which focused primarily on Orania, and in his rebuttal he then pivoted towards the Constitution to say that the Constitution is the source of where the BEE legislation comes from and must be implemented. He cites that public sector must be transformed as the Constitution dictates. Yes, the Constitution dictates that the public sector must be transformed to reflect demographics. But what we do not seem to get at is that the BEE legislation fundamentally reclassifies people into race groups. And because of that race group, you are allowed to participate in the economy of South Africa. What we also have not been able to establish, and my opponent concedes that, I suspect, is that when is enough BEE? Is there such a thing as enough BEE? When will we no longer need the training wheels of BEE, so to speak? And how does Orania then fit in to all of this? Orania is a private community, just like any other community in South Africa, which wishes to associate in terms of its own culture and language, as afforded to by it in the Bill of Rights. There is a unfortunate misconception then that providing a litany of laws and citing international law somehow justifies your position, but you have not given us a lot of dense material to work with. Yes, you have put us a little veneer of citing some sections of the Constitution and alleging that your position has been strengthened. But when pressed on giving us some of the successes of the legislation, You say that the all share index peaked. Is that a direct effect of BEE? Because we can see the direct effect of BEE is a small group of people getting richer and a large group of people getting poorer. That's the effect that we can see of BEE. And we don't need a litany of law or sources to see that. We can experience that. And I think that at the end of the day, if you're going to try and make BEE morally justifiable, you're going down a slippery slope. And then you're doing exactly what the National Party did by saying that race is a determining factor when it comes to human dignity, something that my opponent mentioned, human dignity. So you're not good enough to participate in the economy unless you are a patriot of a certain race. And the black race is the one that we choose because that's what we feel. And that it's subjective at the end of the day because you cannot determine that one is better than the other. And this is what the legislation does. It's subjective. But unfortunately, that subjectivity is creating much more damage to a lot more people than it purports to solve. Unemployment has increased, not decreased. The economy is sluggish, and international investment is also sluggish. And that is not what we expect from a young economy, an emerging economy like ours, which has vast resources that it can tap into. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your closing statement, ROOIKAT. KAIZER, your 5 minutes for your closing statement starts now.
All right. I can't find anything to poke at in the closing statement because, for example, sluggish is an opinion unless it is supplied by figures, comparative figures to say before BEE, these were the figures, after BEE, these are the figures now, so there's really nothing to poke at in the closing submission. But to close again, I have demonstrated that firstly, BEE is justified by a totality of knowledge systems. I quoted political justification, sociological, philosophical, economical, and legal justification. I didn't rely on constructing opinions only from the top of my head, but I actually demonstrated from other sources and from laws and official sources to say that this law is actually justifiable in all respects. It's justifiable in every respect. And to reiterate everything that my opponent has been saying from the beginning, really sends us back in a cycle. It means I have to again repeat all the positive economic indicators which have happened in South Africa after BEE. Now, even from the perspective host of saying that Motsepe achieved on merit, my gosh. Firstly, I read the background comparing Motsepe and Rupert and how they accumulated wealth. The fact that he didn't benefit directly from BEE doesn't mean that he didn't start from an advantage. And that is what distinguishes Motsepe from the average black person. Because Motsepe actually was distinguished by the fact that his father before him had a little bit of an advantage. In fact, his uncle was in close proximity with powerful figures in politics. But nevertheless, in merit, he did achieve things like low-cost mining, making mines profitable, which Anglo Platinum could no longer make profitable. That is merit. Now, that is when he became, after a BEE partner of Anglo Platinum. I'm not sure what was his name at the time. That is when he became a BEE partner, and that is when his wealth grew exponentially. Now, to say that he should have been left alone, probably he wouldn't be as prominent as he is today. Now, what is even dishonest, host? These policies, empowerment policies, not only empower black people, they empower women and people with disabilities because they apply something called substantive equality. What ROIKAT is arguing is formal equality, to say we must presume that everything is equal and just pretend that all people have equal footing. But there's something called substantive equality, which presumes that a disabled person has an inherent disadvantage because of his disability and ought to be empowered by policy. Otherwise, he will never have equal practical access to opportunity. Same applies to black people. To say that substantively white males have an upper hand. By the way, these white nationalist systems are not only racist, they are also sexist. That is why you will hardly find a white woman who is prominent in the white community after centuries of its history. You will hardly find a white woman from a representative perspective, maybe one or two, Helen Suzman, etc., etc. It's just a few. It doesn't represent the population of white women. Why? Because they were limited as well through these regressive policies of oppression. Even today, if you look at the list of white women specifically, who became rich and made a name for themselves, it actually happened after 1994. To show that these policies don't only progress people on a racial basis, but they also consider the exclusion of women, the historical exclusion of women. So to say they are race-based without saying they are gender-based and ability-based, since they accommodate people with inherent disabilities, is dishonest.
Thank you so much, Kaizer. What a matured and solid debate. I really enjoyed this one. Thank you so much, guys. That was phenomenal. Hold on, I'm trying to find this sound effect thing so I can clap hands. There we go. There we go. So now I'm that guy who who does the clapping of hands. Look, thank you so much, Kaizer. Thank you so much, ROIKAT. I really appreciate, firstly, your commitment to this, your time that you've made to come here, and for staying as well. Hopefully to field a few questions before.
Yes, thank you very much to the host, and thank you to my opponent. It was really enjoyable.
Can I just say something to ROIKAT? ROIKAT, you know, I was given Keswa as an opponent. You may be unfamiliar with him, but the fact that I chose you was a compliment, you know. No.
Thank you very much.
I deliberately chose somebody whose intellect I respect, and you didn't disappoint. Here's a handshake from me.
Thank you very much, sir. And I sincerely appreciated your mature and intellectual discussion. I didn't know I was the second place, but I'm happy that I was able to live up to the second choice.
You were not necessarily the second place. What happened was Kaizer said that Keswa is going to frustrate him because he lacks in an intellectual debate. And can I ask ROIKAT to come and join the debate, because at least with ROIKAT is going to have, an intellectual back and forth. So the other guy was a non-starter for Kaizer because Kaizer was going to get frustrated. But you, on the other hand, were the preferred candidate by Kaizer simply because intellectually he felt like he would have a good debate with you. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time. We are now going to allow questions from the panelists. Kanaganda, if you can just hang around, bro, you might have to assist. Just in case I'm taking time to respond, assist me with keeping this Q&A going. Each panelist is going to have 3 minutes to ask a question or make a statement. You are fully in charge of that 3 minutes. Yeah, Kanaganda, just if, as and when I'm not responding, then you can take over. But I am here. You are fully in charge of that 3 minutes, guys. Ask questions, and then that will be it. If there's requests in the bottom, we will have to drop you to make space for other people to come. I do have a question. I'm taking advantage. Pardon me. ROIKAT and KAIZER, both of you, I'm going to ask you. Just take maybe a minute to answer, please. ROIKAT, under what circumstances would you think it is justifiable or fair or considerate in good faith for Orania to allow other people of other races and cultures to start integrating? That's for you. And KAIZER, besides the application of BEE, what other criticism would you level against the policy? Go ahead, ROIKAT.
Thank you very much, host. Great question. Based on Orania's very own set of criteria, their sole focus is to be a cultural and a linguistic community. So if somebody would like to join, they would have to conform to the Afrikaner culture and the Afrikaner language. So that would entail naturally having a cultural link to the community or to the Afrikaner culture, the religion, and yeah. So you must view yourself as an Afrikaner when applying or approaching Orania for your stay there. So that's pretty much what it comes down to.
Okay, thank you so much. KAIZER, go ahead.
I genuinely don't have an answer to your question. Because you said besides its application, what criticism can I level against the policy itself?
Yes.
I genuinely don't even want to rationalize an answer. I don't have an answer, host.
Yeah, I got you. I'm joking. No, thank you so much, KAIZER. Thank you so much, bro. If you do think about it, I am listening. And if you do think about it and you want to take a poke at it, please feel free. Unfiltered, you'll be the first one to have a bite at the gentleman. Your 3 minutes starts now.
Thank you, host. My questions will be directed to ROIKAT. If the apartheid government used laws to make white people rich, why should the state suddenly step back when correcting that imbalance?
Can I answer, host?
You can go ahead.
Okay, excellent. When we are looking at laws that were used to a specific effect, we can ask ourselves, when is enough? Do we know when is enough? Yes.
Can I reclaim my time? ROIKAT, this exposes selective outrage about state involvement. At the end of the day, the state involvement was fine when it benefited whites, but wrong when it benefits blacks. No, guys, we cannot be doing that, and then you still want to make that seem right. Then I just want to end with with the comment that you made about BE. I disagree with you. BE is not making majority black people poorer, at all. The majority was already locked out of wealth. BE helped some of those people catch up, actually, and if you think about it, when back then, when the whole quotas were introduced, white women are benefiting from it. And just like KAIZER said, white people are actually benefiting a hell of a lot from BEE. Whereas if you look at Orania at this moment, you're not even prepared to accept black Afrikaners, and you find them. But you don't accept black Afrikaners in Orania. Why is that?
I'm not sure if there are Black Afrikaners. I haven't met them. If they do exist, they are welcome to apply to Orania, and they will decide whether or not that person will integrate in their society.
You've never ever heard of a Black Afrikaner?
I know of people that are Black and that speak Afrikaans very well, but I don't know of a Black Afrikaner.
Okay, host, thank you. I yield.
Thank you so much, Unfiltered. Lovely. Your 3 minutes starts now. Unfiltered, I'll have to drop you for another request, but feel free to come back again.
No problem.
Hi guys, hi. I've Mr. KAIZER, Mr. ROOIKAT, how are you? I've got a question to both of you. KAIZER, I would like to know from your side, you know, like I heard you talking about BEE, talking what it was made to be releasing the Black, or maybe making them to be able to have businesses to also go up the ladder. What do you think could have been done better for now, that we could have been having many middle class or many upper classes from the Black people with regard to BEE?
I think corruption has been a stumbling block, not the policy itself.
Not the policy itself. So you think it was the policy is there, is okay, the reason is okay, but how it was arranged? And would you say fronting with some of the Black people is the one that has made it to be where it is now?
I would refrain from commenting on things that I have no reliable knowledge on.
Thank you. Roy, I would like to ask you, why was Orania formed?
Orania was formed for Afrikaner people who wanted to exercise their culture in a separate place.
And why was Orania formed just before the apartheid? Why was it formed like around 1991? Why was it not formed in 1970?
Well, the idea of Orania definitely existed in the 1970s, but the property that they bought was in 1991. And I suspect that the original people who bought it were fearful. They were fearful of the upcoming 1994 elections.
Okay, so Orania was made, or was originated for people to be running away from meeting the whole community of South Africa. Am I correct?
I don't think it's running away as such.
I mean, because some ran away out of the country to Canada and the like, and those who remained, then they made an island for themselves within the community or within South Africa. Okay, thank you.
Kanakana, can you take over, bruh, just for a few minutes?
Sigma, does that mean I have to pause my question and moderate? Because I'm happy to do that.
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll pause my question for now. Rafox, Sigma. Sigma. When Azania. I don't have moderating powers for me to be able to time people. Can you please give me that access? Azania? Okay, the thing is, I might not be able to see when you're timing people because the clock is not showing up on my side. So can you please give me the ability to time people as well? So please give me full mod powers so that I can run it appropriately.
I think he was rushing when he was leaving, so I don't think he's hearing you. So I think you'll
Yeah.
just have to look at the clock. Apiwe is on 2 minutes now.
I didn't
No.
even see that I'm on a timer.
You see, he can't even see the timer himself. So
Given you the
it
time,
becomes very
continue.
difficult. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. Ura was not aware of the fact that his time was on. So I will time it on my side, and I'll just make it a stopwatch so that you guys are able to also hear it from your end. I'll keep my mic open so that you guys are actually able to hear when the time is up. That is the best thing I can do right now. Right. So yeah, that's what I can, and that is what I am going to do.
Ganda, I'll
So
run the timer. I just can't speak. I'll be able to run the timer though.
are you sure? Okay. Rafox, my bro, your 3 minutes do start now.
Greetings, everyone. ROOIKAT, as far as asking when is it enough, right? I guess we have to question what were the motives of the National Party in creating a race-based economy? Because when we look at the outcomes, the fact that in 2026, by race, Black people are still in number 4 when it comes to income, right? Number 1 is still white people. Number 2 is Indian people. Number 3 is colored people. And it did last as it was designed and added as it was continued throughout the entirety of apartheid. Black people are still in 4th place. And yeah, then the question becomes, if you're saying when is it enough, when you consider the fact that we had race-based laws that affected the economy, or race-based laws that were specifically intended on creating a race-based economy from 1913. So if you're counting 1913 till 1993, that's 80 years of white economic empowerment, right? So if you're going to be outraged about race-based laws affecting the economy, you can't be mad at the last 30 and ignore the 80 years that founded South Africa, because whether we like it or not, thanks to the National Party and such people, we have a race-based economy. And until you have the majority of people in the country, which are Black people, feeling that they have upward mobility within the economy, actually being engaged in the economy, having the economy protected for our interests, for instance, from foreigners and open borders that actually have stagnated the working class upward mobility in South Africa. Until you have South Africa, like the economy working for the majority of the people in South Africa, which are Black people, oh man, it's always going to be a tense issue, and nobody's ever going to feel like, oh, now we can get rid of BE, because where's the economic justice for the Black people who put in sweat equity into this country to build this country into what it is for less than the standard wages, including the oppression that they went through in order to build this country to be what it is? Where's the economic justice? Because if you're not addressing the economic justice, then how do you expect Black people to side with you and be like, you know what, because of some corrupt politicians, we should just scrap BEE because, you know, it's not actually working for what it's supposed to be doing?
Yeah, so if we're gonna look at legislation to draw people out of poverty and giving everybody a fair chance, those people who make the legislation, I don't think that they ever will want to relinquish power. So they're going to keep on making policies and legislation, and you're never going to see the theoretical results that you mention. I think that the legislation itself will continue into perpetuity, and we'll in effect never see a middle class of Black folks if we keep on in this direction, because the legislation itself is designed to keep the politicians and their friends in power. That's exactly what the National Party did. They developed legislation that in effect kept them in power. And the same route is now going to be followed if we don't apply our minds and find a better alternative to legislating people out of poverty. Thanks.
All right, cool. We're gonna go to Rads. Rads, your 3 minutes do start now.
Well, thank you very much. Great discussion. Yeah, ROIKAT, you held your own. You were very respectful and stuff. I enjoyed the conversation. Kaiser, you kind of do know the law. But, my question to you, Kaiser, is if you spoke about how the policies post 1994 helped to usher in a new trajectory of people of all races, including white women. I was listening to you. And you also said that these policies are helping to address historical exclusion, right? But my question to you is, why has the unemployment rate for black youth climbed over 60%, while Orania, maintains virtually 0% unemployment? And you said that you can't find the stats on Orania because you can't find it for the life of you, but we do actually have people from Orania joining TikTok telling us about life in Orania. And wait, hold on, right? And unemployment isn't one of them. So I would like to know if these policies that you're advocating for have ushered in, have helped redressing the mistakes of the past. Why has unemployment climbed for black people while there's no issue of unemployment in Orania?
How do you know there's no issue of unemployment in Orania? TikTok.
Okay, so Gana is not answering my question. Okay, fine. The other one is that you said that.
Okay, you do reclaim your time. You are halfway through. I'm pausing it, but you can go ahead and ask again.
Oh, are you pausing it?
No, I'm saying you can re-ask your question. Your time is paused. Go ahead.
Exactly. So as I was saying, Mr. Kaiser, again on the media, there hasn't been issues of Orania. We've had people on TikTok telling us about the issues of Orania. And quite frankly, it doesn't seem like Orania has any issues of unemployment.
Can I ask you a question, Rez?
No,
do you know about the murder and suicide that happened in Orania in 2025?
Wait, Kaizer, wait.
It's fine. He's not going to answer.
He has the right. It is the time. Wait, it is the time that you. Wait. It is the time that you can reclaim. Kaizer will answer you when you are done with your full submission. So please do complete, and then we'll take it on from there.
No,
you have a minute and a half remaining.
No, it's fine. So, Kaizer, if your argument that people should be accommodated by the state to succeed, people should be helped because of previous injustices, why does it bother you that a group of people chose to prove that they don't need the state at all, like Orania? Why does it bother you? He's not answering again. Wow.
Sorry, let me check with my TikTok friends. I don't have an answer. I'll have to check with my TikTok friends what the answer should be. Can anybody help me with the answer, please?
Okay, no problem. He's not answering again. The other one is, you spoke about how white women were successful post-1994, right? And you said that those are proof that government's policies do work indeed. But my question is, then how do you explain Orania's success, right? By achieving growth, right? By opting out of the very same government systems that you are advocating for, by receiving zero subsidies from government. How do you explain that, Mr. Kaizer?
I can't explain something that's based on a premise that hasn't been proved. The very premise of your question, it hasn't been proved.
Okay, so that's
verified. All this success, what? I don't have any information to verify, because if I answer you, it means I agree with your premise.
I claim my time. So you have obviously failed to answer 3 questions. I don't know how much time I have left. Mr. ROIKAT, my question to you is, in black townships, people have,
All right. Your interaction time is done. But what I am going to do, wait. I'm moderating it now. So what I'm going to do is, does Kaizer have time to respond to your question, or do you want to ask the secondary question? Because I cannot move on to question. Wait, gentlemen, please. I'm happy to move on to ROIKAT, but I need you to make sure that you finish your interaction with KAIZER first. Then we're going to move on. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to
Mr.
give you...
Gandaganda. Mr. Gandaganda. Mr.
Wait.
Gandaganda.
Reds, I'm moderating. Allow me to do my job. So, KAIZER, if you want to respond to Reds, please do let me know, because I will give your guys' interaction between the two of you, Reds and KAIZER. I will give you guys 3 minutes, and then you guys can interact and finish it off before we move to ROIKAT. And then if you have questions for him as well, I will give you guys the same latitude in terms of time. So right now, it's going to be between Reds and KAIZER, who is one of the debaters. So your 3 minutes start now, gentlemen. As soon as the alarm sounds, we're then going to move on to ROIKAT. KAIZER and Reds, your time starts now.
It's not gonna be between, like, we have to move on to other panelists. I just wanted to...
I think
No,
you're
if
trying
you
to
want a
force.
debate, you can make a schedule. I'm not gonna hold other
Absolutely,
panelists.
I would love to, KAIZER. I
Thank
would
you.
love to. I
Yeah,
would
but I'm
love
not
to.
gonna... Oh gosh,
I would
I'm not gonna
love
hold
to. I would love to. In fact, KAIZER, let me tell you something. I spoke to Azania. I said that I want you. I don't know why you didn't respond.
Ganda, we
I would
shouldn't be
love to.
entertaining this.
I would love
we are
to.
I'm trying, Kanda, it can't be, honestly.
Exactly, Ganda.
Like, this is
So,
a sideshow now.
okay,
The point
it's
I'm
fine.
No, we
making,
can't be
Kanda, come
entertaining
on,
this.
Ganda, come on, bruh.
moderate, bruh, moderate.
Ganda.
Firstly, I wanted to help my friend here. His question is based on the premise that there's 0% unemployment in Orania. Orania is successful, yada, 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 yada. That premise, firstly, it can't be verified. You have to put it on the table to say, here is information that will pass standards of evidence and academic standards to say, yeah, here's the information. Then I can answer your question. If I answer your question based on that premise, it means I'm agreeing to a hidden premise, you see, in that complex question fallacy, you know. Anyway, if you want a debate, I'm always available, you know. That's it. Like, I just wanted to make that point to say I wasn't avoiding his question. His question is loaded.
KAIZER, can I also add to your answer? Because I think that question was unfair in its own. You know, we cannot compare a tiny town of a few thousand people to a country of 60 to 80 million people. Orania's low unemployment is only possible because it excludes the majority of South Africans. So that doesn't make it a model for the nation. It makes it an isolated bubble built on privilege. So when I read, when you want to come up here and you want to act all smart, you need to just relax yourself, because some of us can also do the same that you do as well. And then just lastly, if you look at the population difference, how do you even begin to compare that, smarty pants? Thank you.
For the 1-8, can you come up and assist, bro? I can't speak, guys, unfortunately. Something has come up and I can't speak at the moment. For the 1-8, can you come up and assist with moderating just this part, please?
Also wanted to say that another thing that we're overlooking is open borders and the effect that it has on the economy. The reason why, because I was looking into this, I read, KAIZER was right, that Ernst Roots, the same, he actually said that, because a lot of the people who used to work for the state under the apartheid government were pushed out, or they left, right? They went into private enterprise and therefore they became wealthier as a result, right? So these are documented facts. But then the other reality that we're not looking at is that if you have an open borders policy like we do in South Africa, then what happens is, the reason why our GDP has been stagnating in terms of growth is that it's only been keeping up with the population growth. And obviously we've had a population explosion due to what? Due to open borders. Not only do we have illegal aliens in our country, which are flooding the working class jobs, which is where the youth unemployment comes from, because these are people with no skills. So the jobs that the youth are supposed to be doing are being taken by foreigners, right? Or they're being taken by foreigners. So now the GDP is stagnating, right? And we're not talking about that our open borders policy has been a huge factor as to why our economy has been stagnating. You know what I'm saying? So until we can, because whether we like it or not, the reason why Orania can post the unemployment numbers that they're posting is because they have a controlled border, and therefore they can allocate, or the jobs actually meet the citizens' needs, you understand? Whereas we could have that same situation in South Africa if we also enforced our border laws. I'll leave it there for now.
Gana, I don't know if you've got access to the timer, but I don't seem to be able to put a timer on somebody.
Yeah, bro. Same here. Same here. I'm really trying to do so. So, guys,
Okay.
I'm gonna have to run it. No. It's okay. 41. I'm gonna have to run it from a manual. I'll have to run it from a manual timer, but I will leave my mic open before the time runs out. So when the alarm rings, you'll know that your time is up. So I will moderate it from that. Okay. 41, you can go ahead. You have 3 minutes. Your time starts.
No, I was not.
Is it you or somebody else?
No, it's somebody else. I'm not sure who was here.
It's up you.
It's yes,
Or-
it's
Oh yeah,
TP
it's
or
me.
Piwe.
It's me. I'm the
Okay.
one who's okay. All right.
Okay,
good
here's
evening.
what. Okay, wait. Everybody,
No,
please
I'm
wait.
convinced it's TP when you look at the order.
Wait, guys, please. The host is away. I'm going to moderate the rest of the debate. So I'm going to give it to UTP. He will have his 3 minutes, or she will have their 3 minutes. And then after that, we'll go to Apiwe. But right now, we'll go to UTP. TP, your time starts now. You have 3 uninterrupted minutes.
Very much, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much, ROOIKAT. Thank you very much, KAIZER. One quick question. I've got 2 questions for ROOIKAT. First and foremost, ROOIKAT, I don't know if you would remember, but there was an interview which was done with Carol Boshoff, who's the leader of Orania. He was asked his views on apartheid. And basically, he didn't see anything wrong with apartheid, but rather he saw that the system needed to be adjusted. Do you agree with that sentiment?
Thank you very much for the question. Yes, I do remember that interview with Karl Boshoff, and based on what was discussed, I do think that the system needed to be adjusted, yes.
Not to be abolished.
Not given the circumstances, no.
Okay, my last question. You know that Karl Boshoff is the grandson of Hendrik Verwoerd, who said that black people has not yet developed a sense of loyalty to the state, and it is therefore not possible to give them the same rights as white people. I don't know if you know that Verwoerd said that about black
Yes.
people. Okay, so you are aware. So how is it that the BEE, which is the Black Economic Empowerment, which is a deliberate policy to redress the imbalance of the past, a policy that now is in question when the apartheid system was developing white people deliberately?
Very good question as well. I wonder if we can see tangible results of the BEE policy or the BEE legislation. Are we seeing black folks prospering under these laws? Because, as you mentioned, we saw that under the National Party laws, white people prospered. But do we say under these laws, do black folks prosper? And I think the consensus would be no. So what
the answer
is
is yes, because 30% of black people, which means 3.4 million people, the stats are there, showing that the middle class, it shows improvement. Income growth for families The stats are there showing 46% real income growth. You look at the black ownership, the stats are there on JSE listed companies, 45%. It's black directors. So we're getting there. Thank you very much.
Okay, 100%. No,
All right. The time for the questions that TP wanted to ask has literally just run out. ROIKAT, I'm going to give you 1 minute to respond to what you heard uninterrupted. And after you are done, we're then going to move on to Apiwe. So you have 1 minute to speak into what you've heard. Your time starts now.
Thank you very much, sir. All I wanted to say is that if we see legislation that is helping the citizens of South Africa overall, and everybody can participate in it, and that legislation is good, let's go forward with it. But if it allows for corruption and if it leads to exploitation or things like cadre deployment, we've learned from our past now. We've saw what the National Party and those folks did. Let us look at what they did wrong and let us look at what we can do right. Because at the end of the day, it's us and our children that need to take our places later in life. And we want the best economic systems for them, the best legislative framework for them. And we are in a constitutional system where we are all equal before the law. And let us embrace then that frame of mind and run with it. Thanks.
Vali camera.
Cameras off. Cameras off. But yeah, thank you very much for that, ROIKAT. I did see that KAIZER, you wanted to also have a say in the topic at hand. So KAIZER, I'm also going to give you your 1 minute to have your say on this before we move on to Apiwe. Your 1 minute does start now.
All right. The same way my opponent is asking, do we see any tangible benefits of BEE? I could just as easily ask, do we see any tangible detrimental effects of BEE on the white community? Because the argument also is that BEE actually harms the white community. So if we are going to base, if we are going to argue like that, just like he can ask that, do you see any tangible benefits of BEE? I can equally ask, do you see any tangible detrimental effects of BEE on the white community?
If there are any negative effects of BEE on the white community. Do I understand your question correctly?
Okay, gentlemen. Right now, it is not the time for you guys to have a back and forth between the two of you.
Sorry.
The priority is for the people who have requested for them to then have a say as far as the conversation is concerned. You guys had your own time to give submissions, rebuttals, ask each other questions, and then have closing statements. Right now, the priority are the people who have requested because they themselves have questions that they want to ask you. Right now, I'm going to go to Apiwe, and Apiwe, I'm going to give you 3 minutes, and your 3 minutes do start now.
All right. Thank you, moderator. First of all, I want to touch on the topic on Orania. You know, Orania is a part of South Africa that is just purchased land, and purchased land is protected by provisions from our constitution. And with regards to BEE, you know, I've heard KAIZER say that our economy peaked in 2011. So my first question to him is this: why didn't our economy, in fact, peak the previous year if BEE works so well? And why didn't FDI inflows peak in 2025 as well?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. My answer is I don't know.
But how come, KAIZER? How come?
don't know how to answer your question because you clearly don't
Well, okay,
understand.
okay. Here's what I'm okay. Here's the intent behind my question. What I'm expecting from you is to answer what is being posed to you with evidence instead of narratives. Because what you've pointed to when you were talking about the statistics is that, in fact, what the reality is that the economy, in fact, peaked in 2011 because of the rebound after the 2008 financial crisis. And the reason why we got so much FDI in 2011 was because of the opening up of the economy after the lockdown. So it had nothing to do with BEE.
Understand the context of my argument when I
Yes,
quoted.
I understood it very well. That's why
Can
I'm
you
telling
explain
you
it
these
properly?
statistics. I just told you what you were talking about, Mo. So why do you want me to repeat myself? There was
After
a
you
rebound
talking, I'd
after
like to
a
address
crisis.
his
No,
statement.
listen. Yes, exactly. There was a rebound after a crisis, not because of BEE. So if well, have you as have you have said we received a lot of FDI in 2021. Why didn't we receive the same amount in 2025 or 2024 if BE works so well?
Yeah, ne? No host, I'll answer when it's done.
No, I'm expecting an answer.
No, I can't have
Like
you, unfortunately. Host,
No,
listen,
I'll
Kaiser,
comment on his question when
Kaiser,
it's done.
Kaiser,
Because
Kaiser,
we'll go
Kaiser,
back and
you,
forth.
Kaiser, Kaiser, you can go ahead and answer. If your guys' debate goes beyond the time, don't worry.
No,
I will give
it's
you guys five
inevitable
more
that he's
minutes.
going to speak over
No,
me
no,
and we'll
no.
go
no,
back and forth.
it's fine,
No, no,
moderator. You
no,
can
no,
move
wait.
on. He
It's
doesn't want to
okay.
respond.
No, no,
It's
no.
fine.
No, 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 no. Guys, please. The host allowed me to moderate this chat, so I will do so. Right now, the 3 minutes that were added have just run out. Okay? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm now going to give you guys 5 more minutes for you guys to have a chat back and forth between the two of you
No, I
before we
won't.
move to 41A.
No, I just want to comment on his question. I'm not going to have a shouting contest with him.
No, it's okay. I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes. If you guys want to have a back and forth, at least the time is there. So I'm going to make it 5 minutes now. It starts. Let's go.
Keep talking. I'll answer after he's finished.
Okay, move
No,
on,
I think
moderator.
Kaiser.
You can move on.
No. I think Kaiser, based on what he was saying, it is your time to answer. So I want to make sure that you have enough time to answer. You don't have to use the full 5 minutes, but this is your time to have an answer and a response to what
Yeah,
he's
firstly,
saying. I'm not saying use the full time.
his comprehension of my submission on the figures is quite appalling. The argument is that BEE is not a cause and effect argument to say BEE caused the growth. It's actually to argue that it's a myth to say BEE causes decline. Now you can argue that the growth was caused by rebound and all these other factors you can argue. The bottom line is that there is no substantive proof to claim that BEE causes decline. That argument stands and it can't be challenged.
Well, as well,
Okay.
there's
No,
no
the 5 minutes
evidence.
is still there. You can go ahead.
Well,
Poor understanding of my argument.
no,
It's always that I said
listen.
BEE caused growth. No. I was debunking the claim that BEE actually causes decline. Now, rebound and all these other factors that you are claiming without any evidence as the cause of the economic growth, regardless, there is no qualified evidence to say DEE causes decline in the economy because the indicators are on the up and up. You can bring additional causes for this growth, but nevertheless, according to economic indicators, there is no evidence that BEE causes decline. There is none whatsoever.
Well, the South African economy is continuing to stagnate and nothing is going to change because of the pervasive BEE demands. In fact, after the 2008 crisis, South Africa has never recovered from the investment levels that we have achieved under the previous administrations. You know,
No, you must be joking, buddy. Can you bring evidence of
no, no,
that?
look. Investments into the economy as a percentage of GDP have declined from 22% to below 14. That's a fact. Or maybe I should send you a document as
Compared to which
evidence.
year? Compared to which year specifically?
Okay, in 2008, the investment levels were at 22.7, and in the previous year, they are at 14.
No,
So
no, no.
that's a
When you speak
substantial
about the
decline.
previous administration,
Look,
aren't you talking about apartheid?
no, I'm talking about the
But the
liberal.
previous wait, no. Not gonna waste my time like this. The previous administration presided over PEE.
No, I was trying to make a comparison, in
Yes,
fact,
yes.
between Mbeki
Guys, I
and
have
all
to
other.
sleep. This is
Listen,
becoming
bro.
a comedy.
Shit.
I have to sleep. I'm not gonna waste my sleep on people like Apiwe. This is pathetic.
My guy, you don't want to listen to the questions. You don't respond to anything. What do you expect me to say? You don't respond to anything I say, but it's okay, moderator. You can move on.
Apiwe, can I ask you what also happened in 2010, brother? When we're speaking about the decline in our economy or the turnaround.
No.
No, it's fine. I can take the question. It's okay.
No. Ra will have his chance. Right now, can we please run it in the order of how the debate was initially put together? Yes, I know Ra wants to ask questions, but right now, what I'm going to do is this. Apiwe, you were the one whose time it was on, right? I'm going to ask you this question. Are you happy to take a probe from Ra, Wena Apiwe? Are you happy to do that? If you
Well,
are, let me know now.
yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Cool. I'll give you guys 3 minutes. Your time starts now.
Yeah, Apiwe, do you remember what also happened in 2010?
2010, with regards to what the economy, ne?
Yeah. We had the World Cup, right? Which meant that was a huge opening of our borders in the name of we're hosting the first African World Cup. Now, you're aware, I'm sure, right, that a lot of the people who came claiming or they came to work for the World Cup, they never left. And our immigration numbers have never gone down since that time. Are you aware of this?
Well, I'm not quite certain because my argument is based on economic stats, so I'm not familiar with immigration and stuff.
Okay, but check this out. If you have undocumented workers, how do you put
Oh
those
yes,
into
I
your
remember
economic
you were
stats?
asking this question in the
Yeah.
comment section. Yeah, okay, man. Look,
How do you
there's
put them? How do you account for them in your economic stats? Except when
okay.
you see that GDP is only keeping up with population growth, and when you look at the stats, it's not South African people who are having more children. So how is the population growing?
Well, as we all know, the ANC government started opening up the borders from back then in 1994, and from that time till like 2008, the economy was growing and it was
No,
growing at
but
about
now I feel
5%.
like okay, but now I feel
No,
like
my
you're
guy, you
being
need to
I
listen
feel
to
like
me.
no, listen, I feel like you're being obtuse because you know that the levels of immigration before 2010 and after 2010 are absolutely not the same.
You're talking
It's
about
night and
tourists,
day.
boss. Those were tourists. There's
I'm
a
not talking
difference.
about
The
okay, so
people
you
who came
think
in
okay, hold
2010 were
on, okay.
tourists.
Only tourists came in 2010. You're willing to stand on that hill. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying that, but the majority of those people
Okay.
were tourists.
The majority were tourists. You're willing to stand
Yes.
on that even? Really? So they were tourists. After 2010 they left.
I do not know. Probably
Okay.
some of them staged. I'm
Nah, I
not
don't want
sure.
to hog the stage. We'll come back to this, but let's let other people talk.
May I please ask the host to make sure that the discussions remain
All
subject
right.
specific, please. Let's stay
No.
on the subject.
No. It's okay. No, it's okay. I was actually coming into that, Kaizer. So right now, gentlemen, I actually gave you guys a bit of courtesy because of the back and forth I felt you guys were having. But I was very specific, and I think the host was as well, to say if anybody is coming up to the panel, they are then coming up to ask questions to the two debaters, i.e., ROIKAT and KAIZER. You guys are not going to be asking questions to somebody else that is on the panel that has come up to ask questions to the debaters. That is not what we are doing here. If you are right now on the panel, your point of coming up is to ask questions to the two debaters that you were listening to earlier. So can we please make sure that we stick to that principle? Okay? Unfiltered has had her say, Ra has had his say, so too has 41.8. So right now, Rads, you have a chance. I'm gonna give you 3 minutes to ask a question. Wait, guys, please do not make my job difficult.
Host, just
Please,
a
no,
second. Host, I'm
no,
asking.
no, no,
As
guys,
a
please do not
subject
make
of
my
the
job
cross
difficult.
questioning, I'm asking, please. Host, I asked to comment on Apiwe's comments after he has stopped, and I think I would rather he gets dropped so somebody can join, so that we don't have a weird back and forth. I want to comment on his fallacies. You know,
Okay, that is fine. That is fair. That is fair. You, as one of the two debaters, you guys have a chance to do that.
you know
Okay?
what is bizarre, host?
Can wait,
Okay.
Kaizer. Here's what I'm gonna do. Kaizer, I'm gonna give you a minute to respond. When you're done with your minute, I'm gonna go to Rads, then Unfiltered. And then after Unfiltered, I'll go to 41.8, and then I'll go to SP. That is how I am going to do it, guys. Please allow me to do my job in peace. Right? Yes, I know Unfiltered, you have not asked questions. But as we always say, if we're running a debate, if you come up to the panel, your questions and your statements have to be directed to the people who were in the actual debate. And right now, it is ROOIKAT and KAIZER. So can we please respect that? Okay? So let's take it from there. KAIZER,
But I was here
KAIZER,
before Reds.
it's okay. It's okay.
What's your
KAIZER, you will have. Wait, guys, please, please. We don't do this anywhere. We don't do this anywhere. Can we not do it today? Ngiyanicela. Please, allow me to make my job easier by making sure that you listen to what I'm saying. Ngiyanicela. Okay? So, KAIZER, you asked that you have 1 minute to respond to what you've said. I'm gonna give you that 1 minute. Please do come in. KAIZER, your 1 minute starts
Host,
now.
firstly, I have a problem with people when they examine the South African economy. Whenever things aren't going well with the economy, it's BEE. But when things are going well with the economy, it's some other phenomenon other than BEE. It's quite a unfair type of analysis. Whenever companies close, nobody says, oh, it was the economic crisis, global, blah, blah, blah. No, it's BEE. And then whenever gains are made or whatever, no, it's some other phenomenon. You know, that lack of consistency is honestly intellectually dishonest. And if you join the panel, guys, please think properly. You've had time listening to the debate to think. Please don't subject us to this thing that Apiwe just did here, please. Please don't be incompetent here.
Okay. Thanks. Thanks, KAIZER. Guys, please, 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 do not make my job difficult. I'm begging you. Reds, I will give you 3 minutes. After you, it's gonna be Unfiltered. Can we please run it that way? Reds, you have your 3 minutes. They start now.
Well, thank you very much. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Gandaganda. You know, I spoke about the fact that Oranje doesn't have unemployment, and then the speaker said that what credible sources are they? Well, there's the media. The media's there. Oranje also publishes its own internal census stats. However, I'd also like to show you this, which comes from the University of Bloemfontein. It's a small research paper. Let me switch on my camera. And let me read what it says here. It says, It's highlighted here. It says Orania is one of the few urban areas in the Northern Cape that does not have economic problems. At this stage, the government wants to incorporate Orania into a larger municipal unit, also including Hopetown and Strijdemberg. Orania is opposed to this. How this incorporation will affect Orania, only time will tell. So here's the academic evidence that you asked for, right? And so I guess there's no excuse now. So my question to you, Mr. KAIZER, is that we keep on, I don't think you answered my question last time, but if Orania's success is dismissed, right, because you're dismissing it because it's exclusive and doesn't allow other cultures in, how do you explain the fact that they've built a functioning infrastructure without a cent from government, without BEE, without subsidies, right? While other areas in South Africa with full access to government assistance are collapsing? I'm listening.
Familiar with Deep Kloof extension?
Jesus, you're not answering again. Oh.
Yeah, I'm giving you an answer. Are you familiar with Deep Kloof extension?
No, I'm not.
Well, that is a black suburb that was built without government assistance. How were they able to do that?
So are you saying that all townships in South Africa are the same as Deep Kloof what?
All the townships are the same. I'm merely demonstrating that the standard that you are using to vindicate Orania can be applied even for Deep Kloof extension. You are making.
So does Deep Kloof extension is everyone in Deep Kloof employed? Is that what you're saying?
You should see Deep Kloof extension. I'm convinced, even though I can't verify it any better than you verified it. Sorry, Kanda, I'm sure you are an academic or what Rez showed you right now, would you rely on it? Rez, are you familiar with the SIFT method of evaluating information? I'm asking you a question because what you just showed us on the screen is fraud, basically. What you perpetuated to be evidence is fraud. You didn't even quote the source of the article and who authored that article. You just said it's academic and showed us a flashing screen. Come on, guys.
Oh my God. Yeah, clearly Ganda's biased. It's okay, Azania. But I'm done with you.
Okay, guys, anybody on the panel satisfied with what Rez showed as a source?
Okay. Wait. Gentlemen, you've had your time to have a butcher's.
No, I was interrupted. Azania.
Reds, please. I'm moving to unfiltered. Unfiltered, my sis, you 3 minutes.
Can I ask you a question to the panel? What Rez just showed is would you go to, would you dig your grave on that evidence? Because I saw a screen flashing and I didn't see anything else. Yeah, no.
No, wait, KAIZER, it's okay. That doesn't have to be addressed. My sister, unfiltered, your 3 minutes uninterrupted. Start now. You can go ahead.
Thank you. Roy, I've got two questions for you. I need to, while asking this first question, try and remember the second one. So you said you want a South Africa that is inclusive, fair, and gives opportunities to everyone without prejudice and favoritism, right? And it all sounds good. It sounds very cute. But in the same breath, you live in Orania, a town that does not allow everyone the freedom, does not allow everyone the rights or the privileges that you're looking for from BEE. So my question would be, how can you claim to support inclusion and equality for all South Africans while participating in a system that practices the opposite?
Okay, thanks for that question. Just a clarification. I live in Pretoria. I do not live in Orania. And I think that based on the Constitution's values that we all subscribe to, or at least should, I want everybody to have a fair chance and everybody in South Africa to get an equal opportunity, not because of the past, not because of their skin color or their gender, but what do they bring to the table in terms of merit? Are you bright with numbers, or are you good with artwork? If you are,
Okay, but the
then let's
same
get
is
you
not
through.
afforded, Roika, the same is not afforded to Black South Africans in Orania. They cannot go to Orania and look for a job. Even if they have got the skills in art or whatever, they cannot go
Yes.
there and look for that job and work in that community. And I didn't say that you live in Orania, but you have been protecting the community and what it stands for, right? So my questions are based on your stance, not that you are actually living there. But okay, before my time runs out, I got a second question. Earlier on, you mentioned something about Patrice Motsepe. You said that some Black South Africans like Patrice Motsepe was able to succeed on their own, and which is great, and we celebrate that, right? But that doesn't erase decades of laws and systems that deliberately locked out the majority of Black South Africans from wealth, land, and education. So, if white South Africans were given jobs, land, and opportunities by the state to build the wealth during apartheid, why is it suddenly unfair to give Black people, the same access to opportunities that they were historically denied?
So you broke up there a little bit with the chiming. Can she just reformulate the last part?
Yes. It's all good.
Okay, so
What
why
I'm
is
gonna
it?
do is that no wait, sorry, unfiltered. What I'm gonna do is that I'll give your guys' interaction another 3 minutes. This is for you to finish your line of questioning unfiltered, but it also allows enough time for ROIKAT to respond. So you guys have 3 minutes. Unfiltered, you will finish, and then ROIKAT will respond. Your time starts now.
Okay, so my question was, Roykat, if white South Africans were given jobs, land, opportunities, and all the frills, that came with the apartheid system, and all of these things were given by the state to build wealth during apartheid. Why is it suddenly unfair to give it to Black people? Based on the statement you made, why can't Black people do it on their own? Why can they not be like Patrice Motsepe that made his wealth on his own? Why is it that you wanna put Black South Africans in a position where they must be, when the government does something, when the state is doing something for them, you want to challenge that. Did you challenge it back in the day when white people actually were kicking Black people out of jobs, where Black people had to teach white people skills for them to be replaced in jobs? Today, we want to then say Patrice Motsepe made his wealth all on his own. Why can't the rest of Black people do that? When did you make your wealth on your own? Show me a white person that made their wealth on their own in South Africa that is at an advantage to Black people right now.
Okay, so I think you brought this up a little bit earlier as well, in the sense that if the National Party legislated... Yes, continue.
And it was the question that I had forgotten.
Oh, okay. So when the National Party had the race laws that it had, it did it from a position that it never foresaw that a change of the system would need to occur. They thought that it will go on like that forever. And it's only at around about the late 80s that they saw it's not going to happen. So they didn't plan for anything else except what they were doing for. Now, after 94, we have a new constitution, and now we are saying that everybody is equal, something that did not exist before. And for us to be equal, yes, there needs to be competition. and there will be competition between us. But to say then, but now let's use the state.
Candace.
ROOIKAT, no, wait, guys, wait. ROOIKAT, I'll give you 1 minute to finish your statement, and then we will move on.
Thanks.
ROOIKAT, you have 1 minute. Please do finish your statement.
Thank you. To say that the state must now, in the new constitutional dispensation, again put in laws that were meant to categorize people and to put them pretty much in the same space that they were during the National Party's time, is kind of just flipping the coin onto the other side. And we're not going to really go anywhere if we follow that machination in law. And that's why my proposal is still, let's get rid of something like black economic empowerment. We can empower all South Africans, but we don't need to do it and classify it as a race-based system. So that's what I wanted to get at. Thank you.
All right, cool. I'm going to move on to 41. 41, you have 3 minutes to make your submission and ask your questions. Your 3 minutes do start now.
Thank you, Gana. Yeah, so there's a lot of talk about communist this and communist that. It's just funny to me that Orania is literally collectivism, which is the cornerstone of communism. You're also incorrect by saying they are not. There's no unemployment in Orania. There very much is unemployment in Orania, especially that affects the working poor or the poor whites that live in the informal settlement that is on the outskirts of Orania. So it's not the utopia that you make it seem to be. But my question is, ROOIKAT, what exactly do you need to preserve, and what cultural preservation is being practiced that needs to be done in isolation? Because this is what I'm hearing, is that we're protecting our culture, we're practicing our culture. Why does that need to happen in isolation? Give me a valid reason for that to happen in isolation. What is preventing you or people from Orania from practicing that culture in a setting that is not in isolation?
Well, that's quite easy. If you look at the state's hostility towards certain minority groups, it's very understandable that they would want to congregate and preserve their culture.
How is the state hostile? You're not answering my question. How is the state hostile to your culture? How is the state preventing people who are living in Orania or you yourself from practicing your culture?
So the traditionally Afrikaans schools that were in my community, they're no longer Afrikaans. They're now English.
No. Nobody's removing
Yes.
Afrikaans from school. Afrikaans is not being removed from schools.
Yes, they are.
No, show me where it is being removed from schools.
Okay,
I don't want feelings, I want facts.
Let me tell you, there are two schools that I can mention you right now. There's a high school in Pretoria. It was a predominantly Afrikaans
What's the name?
school.
What's the name of the school?
It was Hoërskool Hendrik Verwoerd. It has now been changed to Rietfontein.
Yeah.
Rietfontein.
I lived in Rietfontein. Yeah.
It's now that.
I lived in Rietfontein.
It's an English medium school. And then there was a
it's actually a dual medium school. It's not an English school. It's a dual medium school. You don't know what dual medium means.
Gentlemen. No. Wait. For administrative purposes, 41, you have enough time to go ahead. I'm saying I'm going to give you guys 3 more minutes When your 3 minutes are done, I'm then gonna go back to KAIZER because I think he wants to say something. But 41.8 and ROIKAT, you guys have 3 minutes. You can go ahead.
Thank you. Just FYI, Hendrik Verwoerd is not an English-only medium school. It has become a dual medium school. I actually lived in that area. Don't try and bullshit us, okay? Afrikaans was not removed as a language of instruction from that school. It became a dual medium school.
The second school is a primary school, which is located in Queenswood, and that was
Pierneef. Are you talking about Law School Pierneef?
no,
Okay, which school are you talking about? Give us names, bro.
Nelly
Names.
Swart.
Nelly Swart. Oh my God. Again, dual medium. It's also
Not a dual medium school.
It's a dual medium
It's
school.
a 100% English school.
No, it is not. It is a dual medium school.
Okay. Hoërskool Staatspresident C.R. Swart.
Also dual medium.
Nope, English. F.A. Oendal.
Yeah.
Yeah? What is it? What is it?
I don't know how it would
It's
involve, but
English.
the first ones that
It's
you mentioned,
English.
you literally rambled through
No,
four
no, no,
schools.
no, no. Don't crash out. The facts
You-
are the facts.
You literally mentioned 3 schools that are supposedly English only, and they are not. So
They
who says
are.
they are not single
They're in my
medium
community.
schools.
They are in my community.
ROIKAT, I lived there. I grew up in that area. They are
Well,
not
things have
single
changed since you've been here.
schools. Oh,
Things
okay.
have changed.
Well, if you're going to make that, please cite a source that we can look it up, please.
You can come with
Trust
me
me.
to one of the schools.
Bro, trust me, bro. Is that your source? Trust me, bro.
So
Trust me, bro.
you're gonna make a fallacy now.
Trust me, bro. So is that the only thing that is being considered the state being hostile to you? Accessibility to a community that is preventing you from practicing your culture. Language policies change based on the community. It's not an attack on Afrikaans or a culture. So again, give me a credible evidence of where your culture is under attack by the state.
The removal of Afrikaans in the court.
It is not an attack on culture.
It's an attack on the language.
It's not an attack on language or the culture.
Why?
Bro, you are supposedly a lawyer. You should be smarter than
Why?
this.
Why is it not an attack on language?
It's not an attack. Afrikaans is not
Why
being
is it not?
targeted. Just because you are
Gentlemen, as you can hear the chimer, I'm more than happy for this debate to continue.
Kanda, sorry, bro. I'm back.
It's all good, bro. It's all good. But based on the last few minutes upon which everybody has been interacting, I know that KAIZER wants to have something that he wants to say. So, KAIZER, I'm gonna give you 3 minutes uninterrupted, given the fact that outside of ROIKAT, of the 2 debaters, you are the one that has stayed silent for over 10 minutes. So I'm gonna give you 3 minutes uninterrupted for you to say what you wanna say. If you have questions for anyone, you can then go ahead and do that. But 41 and ROIKAT, I think your guys' back and forth is actually valuable. So I'll be more than happy for us to revisit that after we go to SP and other people that are also here that have requested based on the debate. But KAIZER, I'm giving you 3 minutes uninterrupted. You can go ahead.
Okay, guys. Firstly, I'm not convinced that there's a school where Afrikaans was removed and then English was made the only language there. Like, it's more likely that English was merely included to accommodate other students. It is highly unlikely that Afrikaans would have just been thrown away and then replaced with English. Why would they do that? Because if it was to attack a language, why would Afrikaans be attacked and then English be promoted? You know, because the justification of attacking Afrikaans would be the same as the justification for attacking English, quote unquote, decolonization or colonial language. I would understand if you say Afrikaans was replaced with Zulu, but it's highly unlikely that Afrikaans was thrown out and it was made English. That claim is unreliable. But the questions which have been asked here, guys, a question that is based on untested information, and then you answer that question, you are actually valid. I can't take accountability for Orania statistics. I can't. I cannot. If people say, why does it have 0%? And I say, because, it means I'm agreeing. On which basis? I couldn't find any reliable information on Orania. Now, I would like for other people to be very careful when answering such questions. Like someone saying, now that we know that Jesus Christ is Lord, King, and Savior, what do you say about 1, 2, 3? We don't all believe that. You understand? Maybe I'm Muslim. And if I answer that question, then I'm agreeing that Jesus Christ is Lord and Savior. Be careful of the hidden premise, guys. Thank you for the opportunity, host, and thank you everyone who supported the debate. I have to go to sleep now. ROOIKAT, well done. 41-8. Hey, no, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Kaiser. Thank you very much. Appreciate you.
Yeah, KAIZER, if I can also just personally thank you, bruh, again. I appreciate your time and your effort, same as ROOIKAT. Hopefully there'll be another one, KAIZER, with another formidable opponent.
Cool.
Thank
Host, you're happy to take over now?
Now continue, Ganda, if you have capacity to.
Now I just want to give the next 3 minutes to SP, but once I give the timer to SP, once he's done with his 3 minutes, I might have to drop off as well.
Okay, no,
just so that I can,
that's cool.
that I can take care of some things.
That's cool. That's cool, Ganda. I can start now. Actually, it's fine.
Okay, no problem. All right, thank you, host. I'll be in the comment section, but I'll be in and out. Thank you very much, guys.
No problem. It's funny when Ganda is moderating. There's no restrictions. When I open my mic, all of a sudden, I need to appeal a restriction. There's
a reason. You know what I mean? I don't know, man. It's the power. Lembe. You know what I mean? It's a Zulu thing. I don't know.
Ganda, please drop. Please drop.
No, all good, host.
No
if
problem.
you need me to provide any assistance, please do message me. But I will be dropping off, and I'll be back in a few minutes.
No problem. 41 is here, so if anything happens, sorry guys, I had to run. Somebody became unwell and they needed my immediate attention. Hence, I had to run. Sharing a bit too much information, but they needed my attention specifically, so I needed to go and attend to that unforeseen circumstance. But these things happen. But they're okay now. They're back to sleep again. Hopefully, nothing will happen again. SP, I'm going to give you 3 minutes to ask any questions to ROOIKAT, make any comments. Please, guys, let's be mindful of, I understand it's a passionate conversation, but let's be mindful because I promised both debaters that the panel is going to be respectful. So let's just be mindful of that, even with our passions. SP, your 3 minutes starts now.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys, for a wonderful debate, all of you. I don't have much questions because I think all my questions have been asked and actually not answered by Roy. I just want to answer for Roy in particular with the question of attack on language. You see, in fact, from what I've listened to and heard from Reds and Roy and many other people who advocate for Orania or either Groenewald, is that here we are having issues of a group of society that have superiority issues.
They just having superiority complex that they just want to retain and uphold forever and ever, and they have no propensity to be adjusted or to integrate into a community. And that is a fact, because these are people who actually get to be hostile over every little change. Number one, they don't want black people in their own suburbs. And imagine, black people did not choose to stay in the township. We were put in township based on economical reasons. The moment economic of a black community gets better, of course, we're going to move into better places. And you've got these people who have gate kept those places as theirs. If that's not superiority complex, I don't know what is. Number two, if you look at the attack on language, for an example, in KZN here, we have, if not 90%, dominant at that, Zulu-speaking people. From east all the way to west, from south to north, we have Zulu-speaking people. You go to courts, hospitals, clinics, police stations, you will always find that the medium of communication there is English, even for the people in the rural areas. Are we now, as the Zulu people in KZN, supposed to impose or feel attacked on our language because our language is competing with English on the boards of notifications? We can't do that. And if you look at Afrikaans, there's a so-called attack on a language. It only Afrikaans people that don't want, because this attack started in Stellenbosch, actually, when the Afrikaans notifications on boards were removed, and they were put against the other languages like Xhosa and English. And that pissed the white people off. And it cannot be that we have such people in our community that want to have that. So my question is, how are you planning to have one sort of community being specially treated or in isolation, whereas other groups like the Zulus and Xhosas and Vendas are able to thrive and retain their culture without isolation? Thank you.
ROOIKAT, do you have any response to that?
Well, the signal was a little bit bad, so I only got very small snippets of it. I sincerely apologize, but I really only got a little bit of information. Could the speaker perhaps just reiterate again, because my connection was a bit bad there?
No problem, no problem.
Yeah,
So what I'm saying is,
just summarize the SP.
yes, just a question.
Yeah, I apologize.
Why is Afrikaner as the
Sorry,
language?
I think I can't hear SP. I don't know if it's my signal.
Can anyone else hear me?
It's fine on my side.
Yeah.
Roy, it's fine on my side. Maybe it's just your side. Roy,
Yeah.
can you hear me, ROOIKAT?
I can hear you.
Right,
You
okay.
can't hear me.
SP, can you try again?
Yeah, I mean, can you hear me now?
Roy, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, host, are
It's
you
a-
able to
I can
pass
hear
over
everyone.
what SP has said? Can you pass what SP has said then?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, ROOIKAT, basically what SP is saying is that since you can find Zulu people all over South Africa and pretty much in every institution of learning, would it be fair for them to insist that other languages be struck down or be toned down in order to promote the Zulu language, since in some areas they are the majority anyway, which seems to be the request or the insistence, at least, of the those who are advocating for the reservation or preservation of Afrikaans. I don't know if SP, I'm summarizing you correctly.
Yes, you are. But then the last question is on the isolation. Why is it important for an Afrikaner community to be in isolation in order to thrive, while every other tribe and group and ethnic group is able to thrive without being isolated? We look at the Venda and Ndebele and everyone else. We are able to thrive
Perfect.
without isolation. Why
Perfect.
a special treatment is needed for Afrikaners?
Okay, and the last question, Roy, is why is the Afrikaner community needing isolation in order for it to thrive, whilst under quote unquote minority groups like the vendors are able to thrive not in isolation but in community with other cultures? Why are the Afrikaners asking for a false start basically in order for them to thrive?
Okay, thank you very much for the questions. I'll start with the first one, that relates to language. I much rather welcome other languages to be developed in the public sphere as opposed to seeing them just fall by the wayside. And that's why my comment towards the removal of Afrikaans from the court system, for example, we should have added languages to the court system so that they can also develop and become stronger in their vocabulary and in their grammar and so forth. So I most definitely would like to see other languages prosper and develop on all areas, in all sciences, so that you can use your language to look at the material world and interpret it in your mother tongue. Then on the second question, the Afrikaner community in Orania have created that community for themselves. They have a particular view of the world and they have a particular goal that they would like to achieve, and that goal is self-reliance. They don't want government assistance. Other Afrikaner communities that you would find in Pretoria or in Cape Town or in other places of the country, they live amongst everybody else. So I think a small town of 3,000 people who want to preserve their way of living, the laws make provision for that, and let them do it as long as it's lawful, as long as they're not hurting anybody. Let them do it. I don't think that it's going to be the end of the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ROOIKAT. SP, you might have a follow-up, but let's just give others a bite quickly. Comrade, you'll come back, SP, I promise you. Comrade, your 3 minutes just now.
All right, thanks. ROOIKAT, I understand what you are saying, but are you aware that majority of people in South Africa mostly they speak other language like Zulus, and for example, you find a lot of lawyers in courts which can't articulate themselves because English is not their mother tongue. Then what are you saying about that?
I agree with you. If we want to build an inclusive society, then we should have said to the apex court, rather include Nguni languages amongst others, so that they can develop within the legal sphere, because you need certain terminologies to develop, and that takes time. So I am a proponent of bringing in more languages for the court system to use and for practitioners to be able to express themselves in their vernacular.
So in Orania, do you have your own courts? And what is the school within Orania? Is it also registered with Department of Higher Education? Because I'm hearing you saying that you don't want to rely on government. Actually, you don't want anything to do with the South African government. So there's nothing that is related to the South African government that you are benefiting on in Orania.
Well, we are benefiting in the sense that we do make use of the police, SAPS. That's a statutory requirement. They investigate any crimes. There's no jail in Orania itself. The town committee would discipline town members if there needs any dispute resolution. And then the taxes that Orania pays over to the state. They have to pay their tax. They pay their tax. They use a little bit of Eskom energy, so they have to pay that. The schools are primarily what we call in Afrikaans CVO skole. So it's CVO schools. It's a Christian-based private school. And then we also have the Bo Karoo Opleidingsentrum. That is where young people go to train for millwright, boiler makers, and things like that. Very close to Saltec. So they have those schools, and they are all based on the International Examination Board's standards, but they're also registered with the Department of Basic Education as required by law.
But then that doesn't mean that you also rely on government to recognize even those schools to provide those services, like you're saying as water. So it's not correct when you're saying that you don't want to rely on government, because you can't exist without government, because you should have owned your laws, government, and so forth.
Yeah,
in a way, you're benefiting from government.
One of the goals that are not part of Orania at this stage is independence. That is not what they want. They do not strive for independence, nor do their policies contain anything about independence. Their primary focus is more on self-reliance, to the extent that it is possible. So, yes, if you have an Eskom and you're not able to fully power the town, then you're going to have to take some Eskom power. So there are some practical facts that Orania cannot yet come around. And it's not that they completely dismayed about it, but it is what it is.
But then it means that it's not
comrade,
because if government yes.
Comrade, sorry, comrade. To be fair, your time has expired, and actually,
Right.
I should have stopped you, but I was busy filling up the kettle and speaking too much noise. I didn't want to unmute. I think we need to move on. I don't know whether it's Lovely or Ra. We'll have a second part again. SP wants to say something. ROIKAT, if this is past your bedtime and you need to leave, please feel free to. You can take a couple of minutes, make a closing statement, and go to bed, and then we'll sit here and chop it up together. But you don't have to.
Thank you very much, host. You have been most kind to me. I think I'll take one more question and then I'll call it a night.
That's fair. I appreciate that. Is it Lovely or Ra? I don't know who's gonna be lucky enough to ask the last question.
I'm not quite sure. Anyway,
Lovely,
I'll ask.
Go. Yeah,
Okay.
Lovely, you can go, sure.
All right.
You're a gentleman, Ra. Go ahead.
Okay, then thank you very much. ROIKAT, sorry, there is something that I didn't catch very well. I don't know whether I was off or not. Did you say the Afrikaners are majorly in Orania because most of the schools have now moved from African medium and gone to English medium?
No, that's not the main reason, no.
Okay, what was it with regard to the Afrikaans medium in schools?
So the Afrikaner communities outside of Orania, so across South Africa, they were just feeling that the Department of Basic Education was limiting their access to an Afrikaans-only medium school. And they were subjected then to dual medium or single English medium schools. And that's something
So they want to come to Orania?
No, they don't specifically want to come to Orania because Orania is a small town. It's rural.
Yeah.
And big city livers, they don't want to go to the rural places.
Okay. So just also because you also spoke about Africans not being in courts. And may I ask, before Afrikaans is being moved from courts, especially, do you know any one of you who advocated for it to be for other languages to be included in court?
Well, within the South African court system, Afrikaans and English were the primary ones.
Yes, yes, I know.
The reason why I say that is in the TBVC homelands, other languages were also used, but we never got the opportunity to advocate for other languages post 94. So I don't think it was up there at the time.
So you didn't
yeah.
think about it, and then the minute they removed yours is then that you say, ish, yeah, we
Well, I
should
don't
have
think it's
advocated
about
for others.
Yeah, sometimes, hindsight comes 2020 vision, and sometimes you miss an opportunity.
Okay, all right then. And then may I ask, how many percentage of whites are there in South Africa?
Ooh, if I remember the statistics, it's around about 7 to 10% maybe.
It's about 7.8-ish.
Okay.
Okay. And then of which, how many do you think, I don't know as well me, how many do you think are African speaking?
I would say most probably half of those.
Half of those. And then of those half, how many are in Orania?
Maybe 0.1%.
Okay, so about maybe then, so we are talking about maybe around 2.5% or 3% that is in South Africa within, scattered all over South Africa.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, we are estimating.
Orania,
Yeah.
Orania has about 3,000 people total. And if we're looking at 3 million Afrikaans-speaking people, then, it's spread out across South Africa.
Okay. And so, do you think those Afrikaans medium schools are important?
I do.
You think they are important?
Yes.
How many were they?
You mean the public schools?
Yes. Because in each and every
school?
town, in each and every town, there was a school or schools of Afrikaans medium instruction.
Yeah, I'm not sure on exact number, but I would suspect there are thousands of schools in South Africa.
So in proportion, do you think they are important, that amount, that size, that should be Afrikaans medium, as in proportion to the percentage that we are talking about?
Yeah, no, you make a good point. In our constitutional dispensation, no. It should be focused locally, and if there's a larger Afrikaner community, then I think an Afrikaans school would be appropriate in that area.
Exactly. So I think really...
Thank you so much, lovely. I'm sorry.
No, don't worry.
It's a fruitful conversation, but I am aware that ROOIKAT did say he wants to go to sleep. I think he needs to prepare heads of arguments for Malema in April. So,
Thank you very much, host, for having me. It was really very lovely and good discussion. I appreciate your kindness. Thank you to all the people who asked the questions. And let's keep these debates on because we need to keep on talking to one another.
Not a problem. Thank you so much,
ROOIKAT. Thank you very much. Good night. Thank you, host.
Good night.
Good night. I'm sticking around for a little bit, guys. I don't know is there another Patriot that's open, so that if Nyamba, at least you've got somewhere to go if you don't want to sleep, unless you guys want to sleep. I don't mind. I'm chilled. Otherwise, we can talk about what did you guys think of the debate. How do you think it went?
Yeah, I think these debates, they become they've become a tool that has quickly shown and exposed the fallacies, the dreams, the lies, the unfounded notions
No,
around
host.
black people.
I think it went very well. Sometimes it's very
Oh,
important.
sorry, comrade. Sorry, my leader, comrade. I don't know, but SP is speaking. SP, there seems to be a problem with your network because it doesn't seem like other people can hear you sometimes.
Yeah, no, Asmos.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Me, I can
Well,
hear.
I can hear you. I think it's only comrade that can't hear you. I think it's comrade. Can you guys hear me?
Can you hear me now? All right. Okay. All right. Thank you, Brad. Yeah. So what I'm saying is, the importance of this debate. These have become a tool that we can now use as a gauge stick that we can actually rely on, because the people who believe in these fallacies, be it Pan-Africanism, be it white supremacy, be it Orania, be it Grunewald and all of those things, you will find that these people are just believing in this thing based on emotions and lies and in the case of Grunewald, self-hate and all of those things. There hasn't been any person who has significantly convinced me to leave the posture that I've taken around these matters, whether be it Pan-Africanism or Orania. I mean, in the case of Orania, for an example, if you're listening to the entire debate for this for tonight, you will realize that these are people who are just who thrived, and actually they were very excused during the apartheid based on the fact that they were mainly and only prioritized, and they did not take accountability of going to school, of learning anything, because you could just turn 18 and go and become a supervisor in some factory and stuff like that. And so when you lose privileges like that, and you grow up with your forefathers and your uncles talking about the good old days, when you turn 35 and life becomes challenging and it becomes competitive, and you now have to compete for basic things that your uncle never used to compete for, you're bound to obviously want to create an isolated space where you can thrive alone, and everything will become an attack. There hasn't been anything about Orania that makes sense, because if you talk about isolation and an attack on culture or language or preservation of culture, vendors are thriving and they are not even isolated. Swatis, the smallest group of South Africa, they are thriving, and no one has wanted to be isolated. So this notion that in order for you to succeed or to preserve yourself, then somehow you need to be overhauling the constitution of South Africa and say other people mustn't come to your town, yet at the same time you still depend on the government's electricity and police service and court service and so on and so on. It cannot be. It's just crazy to see people believing in that notion. And if indeed that was true from the 1.5 million Afrikaner people, for you to have 3,000 people who believe in this nonsense, it just goes to show, because this thing, it's useless and it does not need to exist. The most embarrassing part is not even the Afrikaner community that are taking that stance, but is the people that are subscribing to that nonsense, that are black people like Cabo Reds and stuff like that. That's the most embarrassing part when it comes to this matter. Sorry, I don't know if there's one. Just one last thing on the BEE, guys. The black government has been very kind when it comes to repatriations and when it comes to balancing the economical scales between the black and white. The companies that you see today, whether be it the companies that you see today, be it Sanlam, Old Mutual, FNB, all these big companies, Anglo-American and so on, all these big companies that you see today, they were intentionally and fully funded, and they failed time and time again, but the government gave them money to survive over and over. And if
Here, people always begging in our shops. People to stop begging, man.
And tell your people to go to their country, yo.
you wouldn't have people begging.
Nah, it's okay. It's okay. Continue,
if you were
guys.
not here.
Yeah, you can
Stupid.
continue, guys. That guy has a spaza shop mentality.
Yeah, sorry, man. Yeah, so the black government has been very kind, because if you look at how intentional the white government was in terms of uplifting the Afrikaner community from the trenches where they were against the British, the Afrikaans community was very deliberate in making sure that they fund factories, bank sectors, insurance sectors, and so many other sectors. They made sure, and companies failed over and over and over, but the government never gave up on them. The government kept on refunding these companies, even ideas that were failing, and some of the things were over invested, but the government never lost hope on on those entities of the Afrikaner community. And then later on, certain companies then became successful, like your Sanlam and FNB and them. However, if the black government had an intention of replacing the white people or the Afrikaner people, they could have just said, with the experience that we have today of the black CEOs, men and women of black people that are now very highly educated, very highly experienced, government can now be hostile and say, now that we have experience, we can run our own bank. Government can intentionally take out 100 million from the PIC and say, Sizwe Nxasana, here's 100 million, go and start a black bank, and then make it a law that every black person go and invest in that bank. A government in this continent, in this country, can be that hostile if they really wanted to attack the white community or the Afrikaner community. We can do that with banks, we can do that with insurance, we can do that with every sector, because the majority of the consumer in this country, by majority, is black people. So there is no isolated business that can thrive in this country without a buy-in of a black person. And if a black government wanted to be hostile and wanted to be intentional about getting rid of every white company and get them broke, today we could actually replicate each and every white company that exists and put all competitive black people to run those companies, and they can be very successful. However, we are not doing that, because we still introducing then the BEE, which the BEE is a very soft policy that allow then black people to integrate into the existing companies of these white people. So if you see BEE as an attack on you, you don't know you don't know the worst that could actually happen as an alternative. Thank you.
No, brilliant submission, SP. Lovely. I don't know if you want to add anything to what SP said or give your opinion on how the debate went.
The debate went well. We had to learn things that we can't even find anywhere. I understand even when KAIZER was saying, there's nothing that is out there specifically to say, why does it exist? Why, like when and what they are doing. So, but then at least we found something from the other speaker. But then, me, according to how I'm finding this, I think this is a crybaby village. It was created so that their kids can be pepped. And I'm thinking, this means apartheid won't stop, because those who are there, they are being taught very well about how to preserve themselves and how they should be on the top, how they should be the special one, how they should be. So that means those kids, even if they come out, like SP was saying, how will they thrive when they come out? And when they come out, they will come out with that mentality. Who knows that, all these people who sometimes they are using a K word, it will be them when they come for shopping in town. Like, they are a village, they have to come to the town center, to the main city to come and buy stuff. So if they come over, then they are wondering, is that first time they are meeting people, meeting the K people, and then they start calling those words because they are they are in school, even maybe being taught like that from primary school. And the idea of now also complaining about languages being removed from other sectors, clearly, like I was asking, looking at the percentage, is that important? Is that important? Because yes, we are using English, which is not shouldn't have been important, but we are taking it as an international language. That's why we are thinking, everything should be a medium of. I mean, English should be a medium of instruction, and then other languages follows. But then, why do they want their language to be there on top? In par with English, and also more so other schools have got those dual languages. And I know that this is a discussion now. Not all the schools. There are some schools that are being taken, but it's not many schools for them to notice and then to cry about it. So I don't think it is fair, and clearly that shows that they are still wanting to preserve, even when a VF, when this Grunewald is saying bring back South Africa, he means the apartheid South Africa. And I don't know these people who are not understanding, who are following them, who are licking their butt. What are they on about? They don't want themselves to live a good life.
Yeah, no, valid points. I've always had my opinions on Orania and even the mindset, this false start mindset. I've always thought Orania is an intentionally separatist town. I've always thought that theirs is they're using the issue of language and culture as hopefully a soft landing spot for what they actually want to achieve. You look at what happened during apartheid when black students said we are not going to learn in Afrikaans, the outrage that was felt by the apartheid government, that they thought it would be appropriate to meet a protest of unarmed students with pew-pews. That was not to try and silence them. It was to try and force the Afrikanerdom into the black students. And obviously at the expense of life, it did not work. It was not sustained. And now this coming back and saying, it's almost like they're saying, we want to restart now what we intended to do with Africans, but we are willing to take it one bite at a time. We'll start with Orania, we'll move to something else, and we'll move to something else. So it just has remnants of that. I really enjoyed the debate. I can't obviously make any proclamations on how I thought the debate went, etc., etc. And I also, I don't know, I think this was our 7th debate. The past debates, I've just conditioned my mind to just listen to learn, or to get. I sigh sometimes when my mic is muted. I have reactions. I scream and yeah, for the one, you're right, etc. But when I unmute my mic, I have to be a host who's trying to build a platform that is impartial, which I think we're doing a fantastic job so far, in doing that. But yeah, I've always had my opinions on exactly that when it comes to Orania. I thought ROOIKAT was good at debating his points, but I'm still not convinced I'm not persuaded otherwise in the opinions that I previously held before this debate. And maybe it's going to take 50 other debates for me to be convinced, or maybe I'm never going to be convinced, which is most likely. But I do appreciate these difficult conversations. I am actually looking for a very hardcore Cape Exeter to come back here and debate 41.8.
And
Debate 41.8. I thought the debate was really good. KAIZER was surgical, man. Flip.
it was very informative and great, but at the same time, ROOIKAT, as probably well informed as he is, he was not able to.
Sorry, is it my network or have you stopped talking, Azania?
No, I've stopped talking. SP is just going to be quick for the one, and then you can go in.
Yeah, please, man.
SP is not here.
SP is here, is at the top.
Is
No,
he?
maybe.
Is my TikTok glitching out or something? I don't see anybody in the top box.
No, I think for the one, what has been happening is that consistently people have been either not hearing SP or not seeing SP. So I think the problem is with SP.
Today. I wish I can come into Orania like that.
Yes.
Understood. Yeah, but I mean, if you can hear me, host, I was just saying, Guti, the it's not so much for us about going into or forcing our way into Orania or in other people's culture. We don't really care about the Africans or the Orania itself. The only thing is we care about the country and the land of the South Africa. We cannot have pockets of South Africa where, as the black people or as the majority of this country, have not access to. It's impossible. And once we start allowing small groups like this to start having these mini pockets of the country that are not accessible to a certain group of people, when do we stop? When do we stop? How do we stop Amakwerekwere from taking the same posture? How do we stop any other group that can just rise out of nowhere of the Christians? Because somebody can just come with a belief of that we need a Christian city, and so on and so on and so on. When do you stop? And we need to nip this in the bud and make sure that it does not go any further than 3,000. Thank you.
No problem. For the one still can't see SP. For the one, go ahead, my leader.
Thank you, Zanya. I'm grateful I get actually a time to address it properly now. Still waiting for a valid reason why cultural preservation needs to happen in isolation. This thing about Afrikaans being under attack. I think it really does come down to that when people have been used to privilege for such a long time. When you need to start sharing and be equal to others, it kind of triggers this trait in people that they feel that they are being oppressed. Funnily enough, talking about Orania, and coming back to communism and socialism, did you know that Orania has a welfare system?
They do.
Yeah. I think it's Helpende Hand Fonds or something in that line. But yeah, very. Yeah, they've got a welfare system. It's a collectivist community. So yeah, it's for people who keep talking about how South Africa needs to stop being such a welfare state. They're very good at looking after each other in isolation. And funnily, I was actually responding to somebody's comment on one of my videos, and they said, "Yeah, well, black people get so many privileges in this country," and I asked them, "What privileges do black people get that white people don't?" This person pointed out that black people get assistance from SASSA. Now, as a white man myself, I can tell you now that white people qualify for SASSA as well. My mother was a single parent. She got a child support grant. My grandfather gets an old person's grant. I know individuals who get disability grants. So this narrative of white people being oppressed is... It's absolutely disingenuous. Like
it's desperate.
You cannot argue with the facts. Like I don't care about your feelings. If you want to argue that something is bad, then give us facts that it is bad. Just because your feelings are hurt or you are not overprivileged anymore doesn't mean that a system is bad. BEE has failed because of the people who have implemented it. It is not a failure because of what it is.
I agree with that 100%. True. And that's where we can level criticism against BEE, its application, and the people that are in charge of its administration.
100%. And just a last thing, if BEE destroyed this country and destroyed white people's prospects for work, Tell me why the unemployment rate for white people is lower than the average unemployment rate of this country, and the unemployment rate for black people is almost twice as much as the national unemployment rate. Like the stats don't lie. I've worked for companies where it is just white people. So you can't tell me that white people are being unfairly discriminated against. It is just not happening. And like this mindset is, I don't know, man. Like we can't move forward as a country with people that think like this anymore. Like it is just, it's not in the interest of our country to have people like this around anymore.
100% for one. Fully with you on that one. I don't think you'll get the answer to your question, by the way. I know that you asked your question and there was no answer forthcoming. So you're going to have to figure that one out yourself and tell us as well.
And you know, 41, on top of that as well, the pay rate has not changed, has not been balanced yet, and yet is 30 years. Which pay balance could have been, could have been made within the first 5, maybe 10 years, if max, if we say it took long, but it's not being balanced yet. It's still white, Indian, colored, black, still at the bottom.
Yeah, it's I think the last time I looked at it, the average, well, the median income of South African households, or white people are, it's not even close. That's the thing, it's not even close. It is, I think, triple or quadruple the amount of the average black household income. It is, like, the stats don't lie.
Exactly.
You know what? And I was thinking about this earlier. Like, there is a certain level of privilege and grace that white people get, and I think this is an issue that speaks to systemic racism. Is that there is a certain level of grace and privilege or empathy. I don't care what you call it, but there is this. I'm trying to find the right word to describe this, but I can speak out of personal experience. Like, I've made mistakes in my life that could have cost me everything. For the average South African, it would cost them everything. I'm talking about homelessness, etc., etc., etc. But sure, purely based on my skin color, it prevented me from landing up in that situation. And I cannot say the same for so many other South Africans. It is. I think white people need to get to this moment of reckoning where you realize that the state is not against you. Saying that something is culturally, it's for cultural preservation. You're putting makeup on a pig, but it doesn't change the fact that it's a pig.
People are selfish because what I'm looking at, when 1994 came, when the black person took over, did not say repay and start afresh. No. You just didn't get extra more benefits, although the pay rate was there and things like that. But just because you cannot be able to make yourself or feed your people first like you were doing before, and you think that you are now underprivileged, because if they paid everything and then started afresh, they would have been suffering. But we are the one who are starting afresh every day.
Lovely, the
Yeah.
one thing that what you don't understand about BE is not exclusionary. If it was exclusionary, that would be unfair discrimination, right? If the law said white people are not allowed to work in the public sector or you're not allowed to hire white people. If it had said that, it would be unfair discrimination, exclusionary, and that would be something to complain about. But the prioritization to redress the past and give people equity in a country that is very much still unequal, that is not unfair discrimination. It's not some type of reverse apartheid. If it was truly reverse apartheid, myself as a white person would be walking around with a dompas.
Yes,
Anyway,
you could have been taken to Alexander. You know, if they could have done so, say, okay, go straight to Alexander now. Now is a new turn. You know, Lovely will go to the suburb. We'll go to Moonside. We'll go to Sunton. Oh, Sunton was not there before, but you know, things like that. If that is what has happened, that I will be taken to Waterkloof, and then you go and take my house in Alexander, that would have had enough. But that should have been what has happened, and it didn't happen.
I also think like a big problem when it comes to people thinking that they are unfairly discriminated against by the system. Let's talk about the welfare system. White people believe there's this myth that white people don't benefit from the welfare system. And as I pointed out, like I know people who benefit from the welfare system. The welfare system does not discriminate based on rates. The only criteria for the welfare system is socio-economic circumstances. So if you earn above a threshold, whether you are black, white, pink, colored, whatever, you don't qualify for SASSA. That is the rule.
That's universal. Yeah, that's for everyone.
Yeah. So anybody that meets the criteria can get state assistance.
I mean, even my sister did not get the SASSA when she finished at work, and she was just a tea lady. But they said she can't.
Guys, I'm gonna keep this going because I've decided that I'm gonna make myself a bagel while you guys are talking.
It's man, like it's like these myths that keep spreading around. Like, come on, guys, it's 2026, and you still telling me you believe in this and in these myths? Like, people have smartphones. Why do you not just do the research for yourself? But we're spreading the same propaganda that is being spread on around braais, telling people that they are being oppressed. It's getting bad. You have no excuse to be this ignorant anymore.
People are ignorant. People are just they just go on social media. You know, like just scroll on social media, and that's enough for them. Instead of getting on an article, trying to find out and figure out what is being written there, what is going on, they don't. I don't know why people are.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm also still struggling to understand why people have this aversion to the truth, right? Like they keep lying to themselves. But I actually spoke to a lady.
It's convenient for the one.
Yeah, 100%. It's convenient. I made a post about a very unpopular opinion. I showed you earlier. I truly believe
they are coming for you, there, my brother.
I truly believe the only reason white people dislike redress laws is because it forces them to be resourceful and competitive when they've enjoyed when black people have had to do so for such a long time.
Like one that is so profound. That's like a light bulb moment.
Bro,
Trump is inviting them for one.
So
Why don't they
profound.
just get on the flight and go to Trump?
But
It's
then,
not nice.
they
It's not
don't have
nice
a
there, my
protected
sister.
area.
No,
They
all of them. But if they go as a group, as a team, they will team up. They will make it nice. If they are few, yes. Like the whole village of Orania, if it goes there, honestly, they will enjoy themselves.
They
see the
have
problem with
seen.
that. Sorry, sorry.
No, I'm saying they. For one, I need to let you finish your thought because I thought what you were saying was very profound. No, I'm saying that they saw from the 49 that left to go to America that it's not all Ioba.
I mean, the
Go ahead,
last
Fawad.
plane that went apparently only I think only a handful of people actually pitched up for the flight.
Yep.
No, people are realizing that they don't have the privileges over there that they have here. But I
Absolutely.
mean, if things are so bad for you here, why are you staying?
No.
But
You know,
coming
for the
back
one,
to
I say this all the time. I say this all the time that South Africa is paradise. I have no desires of living in this country for the rest of my life. None whatsoever. None. Literally zero. South Africa is paradise. I've seen white people here, and I always look at them and say, you can't afford a domestic worker here. You can't afford somebody to walk your dog. You can't afford somebody who's going to pick up and wash the blanket that your dog sleeps on. You can't afford any of these things. You can't afford a gardener. You can't afford a driver. You have to be all of those things. You have to be the domestic worker. You have to deal with the household chores, go to work, come back, look after your kids, get them bath, take them to school. All of that is on you. And you decided to leave South Africa paradise simply because you wanted to embrace this notion of being oppressed when you know that that oppression does not exist. They come here for the one and they are working at Tesco. I have to tap them in the shoulder and ask them, sorry, where can I find the tomato sauce? The first time when I remember when I took my white friends to my town and they walked into ShopRite, one of them stopped at the door of ShopRite and said, I don't see any white people packing shelves here. Because in the UK, it's only white people who pack shelves. And for me, that was normal. Not seeing a white person packing shelves was normal. But it gave me a moment of pause to say, oh my gosh, they're actually right. There aren't any white people packing shelves at ShopRite. And here, they have to pack the shelves at Tesco. They drive buses. They work normal jobs. One of them is working at a parlor. She's an administrator in a parlor. In South Africa, she talks about, oh, we used to have a lovely life in South Africa. Big house, beautiful cars and everything. We left it. Oh, we left it. We just did not feel safe. And I'm thinking, you bastard. But obviously, I can't say those things out loud. Go ahead for the one.
you know what
You laughed.
sorry, Zane, you raise an important point, talking about the jobs that white people do in other countries. It's funny to me that the same people who would leave South Africa because apparently there's no opportunity here would go and do the things that they wouldn't do here in other countries. They would go be a shelf packer in other countries. They would go be a farm laborer in other countries. They would go be a domestic worker in other countries. But they won't take those opportunities here. Is there a sense of entitlement, or do you think just because you're in South Africa it's
It
beneath
reeks of
you?
entitlement.
Yeah, like I just don't get it. What you literally think that these things are beneath you, but then you go and do it in another country. Like
King.
these H2A workers that go to the US, they are farm laborers. They are not farmers. They're not farmers in the sense of owning a farm and managing a farm. They are farm laborers, which makes them
Facts.
farmers, but they are laborers. They
Facts.
labor the fields, whether that is driving a tractor or working in the fields or whatever it is.
And in South Africa, sort of lovely before you come in South Africa 41, they are the farm managers. They play golf the whole day, come back in the evening, sign papers.
Even if
You
they
know what?
don't own the farm. Even if they don't own that farm, but because of the farm is 41's farm, so he will have to be a foreman by virtue of being one of 41's thing. When I King, why don't you tell 41 what they do when they meet you there, where you are?
In what way? There's a
In,
lot.
in, in a way of them being chasing you more than I can chase you if I meet you there.
I know, and you know the funny thing is, not intentionally, but I try sometimes to minimize my interaction with them here because I find it to be very pretentious. Um, unfortunately, it's by default. I find it to be very pretentious. I remember going to a to a Christmas market in London, and actually even Camden Market. It's not a Christmas market, but Camden Market. And there's a white lady there selling fat cook, and I'm thinking to myself, there's a little bit of irritance that I feel. I'm like, it's okay that you're selling fat cook, but I'm pretty sure in South Africa you will not touch this. But because it's a for you, it's like a cultural, I don't know, like a cultural portrayance. It has that element of being African and exotic.
Cook sister.
Things like that. And I didn't buy the fat cook, but my friend and I had a conversation in Panichao. We had a conversation about the fat cook and the Panichao, etc., etc. She has had Panichao in South Africa, but never had fat cook in South Africa. And the only thing that she knew how to make from home, she had to learn to make everything else, was milk tart. So we bought milk tart. Well, my friend bought milk tart from her, and that was the only thing we bought, was the milk tart. And then we left the store, and I was saying to my friend, it's funny to me that this lady is selling fat cook. No problem, like, it's okay, she can sell fat cook if she wants. I can't tell her not to. It's food at the end of the day. But the fact that she says she never had fat cook in South Africa and she only had a panichao, it's just mind-boggling to me. I don't know, my mind just races. But yes, we are homies here in Elizabeth's country. It's all happiness and joy. Actually met a lovely woman. I think she's Scottish. Yesterday at some hotel lounge type of situation, and she was married to. Don't know if I should. I'll cut this in the video. She was married to a very, very abusive Afrikaner border guy, and she details it, and she says she had to escape. Not she had to go. She said she had to escape. I had to escape him. So and he has a very Afrikaner surname, and she hates it. And I think she hates it because it reminds her of the horridness that she went through with him. Yeah. Yeah. And so she's just waiting for one of her kids to be a certain age before she can change it. And I think it's because the kids have the same surname as her, and because she is their active parent at the moment, if you go to school or whatever, the surnames need to correlate, and she doesn't want to go through the fuss of changing the surname and changing the kid's surname. So she'll just wait until they're 18, and then she will change her surname, and then the kids can decide what they want to do. Lovely, lovely lady.
Yeah, when you
Beautiful.
meet when you meet them abroad, 41, they will rush to you. Oh, how are you? Hey, he's from South Africa. Yeah. I'm from Newcastle. Oh, me, I'm from East London. Oh, me, I'm from, I'm from Cape. They will be the one, they will rush to you more than a BLK person can be, rushing to you. They will hear you when you are talking, maybe on the phone, and they will be desperately waiting for you to finish on the phone. Oh my God, I used to wonder. I remember one time even in the train, I think that was 2002, 3, somewhere there. I met one from Zim. He was from Zim. Hey, Mkaya. What's going on with this man? So yeah, that's how they are. You wonder, two different people.
Lovely. I've even stopped going to these South Africa days. Actually, not stopped. I've never started because of feedback I've heard. There's a friend of mine who's insisting that this year we are going to a South Africa day. but I don't go anymore because of similar things like this. It's just too many people. It's too loud. I find them too pretentious. Yeah, it's just frustrating.
41.
I want to answer this this question that Comrade Katambo has. What does it take for a white person to be honest and say things the way they are? I'll be honest with you. I don't care to explain to people or try to educate them anymore. Like it has been 31 years of democracy. The fact that they are still grown as adults that cannot apply logic to their own thoughts should not be the burden of the majority of the people in this country anymore. For how long do we still need to educate people? For how long do we need to keep explaining that you are not being targeted, that Afrikaans is not being targeted, that you are not being excluded from the economy, that you are very much still in a privileged position? And this is not just talk. Like, I've lived this. I have the experience. I don't have a tertiary education, yet I do the same work that a qualified software engineer would do. I've held management positions purely because of my experience. Zero qualification to my name. Like, these things are still happening. I've managed software engineers where there has been a pay disparity between different races. I had a senior software engineer that was being paid less than one of the more junior software engineers in the same team. And when I queried about why this is, they just told me this is just how it is.
Damn.
Like, these things are actively happening.
It's so frustrating. I'm telling you, it's so irritating. You know, I mean, like now my nephew is working somewhere, and they are literally working every day. I think the minimum time they are having for annual leave is the Christmas week, and that's it. And it's not that they are getting compensated for anything. They earn per month. So you could imagine that thing that is still done now. Because now they are begging for a job now. They cannot do anything. They cannot say anything. Because otherwise you open your mouth, you are booted out.
That's one of the things I find frustrating. It's one of the things that I don't think I would survive, to be honest with you, working with either abusive employers or bully managers. I don't know, man. I'm too stubborn, and also I'm too spoiled as well. I think I've been exposed to. No, it's true. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's this country that I live in, but I don't take nonsense for a long time from managers. You know, or from you can't. If you are asking me to go the extra mile, it needs to make sense. You know, I was telling a story here the other day of when I decided that I no longer am taking work home. If I can't finish my work within the required hours, then my workload is either too much, it needs to be reviewed, or the time of the day that you're giving me to work is not enough. You know, if I'm supposed to do something within the 9 to 5, I need to efficiently finish it within the 9 to 5, and then or else something has to give, and it can't be me. You know,
My laptop,
I
I
don't
come with
take
my
work
laptop
home
home.
as yeah,
And
me too, because
yeah,
I work from home sometimes, but I
I
switch
come
off.
with my laptop home and I go back with it on Monday. Just as it is in the back. I don't touch
Yeah,
it anymore.
even my work phone goes off as soon as it's 4 o'clock. Work phone is off.
And if you can't
Nobody
do
can reach
that,
me.
If you can't do that, you get used to, and then the day that you can't help, then they are going to wonder why. Why have you changed?
Almost like it's your fault. Mina, I don't. Mina, I just don't. Mina, I once had a relatively new guy. I was a department coordinator, relatively new guy, and he just was rude. He just spoke to me in front of the office. Not everyone in the office, but our department. Very, very rude. And I looked at this guy and I thought, he really thinks that, like, cheers for the one. And I looked at him and I thought, he really thinks that he's like I'm a pushover or something. So I went and reported him directly to the managing director. Reported him, said this happened. And then the managing director said, what do you want as a resolution? I said, I want an apology. Called the guy to his office, apologized, said, nope, not here. He can't apologize to me in the office. He disrespected me in front of everyone. He needs to go and apologize in front of everyone. And then I got up and I went and sat down and I waited for him to come and apologize in front of everyone. Because you can't do me like that.
Yeah, that's true.
You can't do me like that. And another one, I could see that he was going to have nonsense with me. So I took my phone out and I recorded him. Just kept quiet, recorded him, voice recording. Just talking. And obviously I'm giving lip back. I'm not just quiet, I'm like, you can't say this because of ABC. You can't say this because of ABC. But he just kept talking. 3 days later, he was fired.
Yeah.
Because there's procedures. You can't break you can't do that, man. It's abusive. There needs to be consequences.
Yeah,
And I didn't even ask on Bumi's live. It's kind of funny. Yeah, man. Same.
Yeah.
I'm gonna close soon, Tracy.
And when I've been saying I'm going, and then Kirata
I'll go there as well. I'll close first. I'll have to edit this video. I have to edit a lot of things in this video.
Yeah, right and sharp, especially these last things. Yes.
Yeah, I know. I'll edit them out.
Night.
Lena Kitlo Robala, guys. There's 71 people here. I don't know how many are awake or sleeping. And quite frankly, guys, yeah, good night. Maslaleni, guys. Sanobe nibambelele apha nilinde into engakhoyo. Engomso ngugred no reds. Hey, ilive yengomso izandixaka. But ke akukuthini. Good night, Nombi, and thank you so much for being so supportive. I'm gonna go to Mpumi's now. I don't know if I'll actually request to climb up, but I think it's very funny. So I'm gonna go now. I need to edit so much of this. And also finished I didn't actually end up having a bagel. I ended up having a different type of bread. Do you guys ever go to a shop and just think I'm not gonna buy normal bread today? I'm gonna buy just whatever, rye bread, sourdough bread. There's this bread that we had one time in high school. My home economics teacher did home economics, guys. I was not a maths person or commerce. I just thought the maths was going to drag me down. It was going to lower my marks and I was not going to do well, and I just didn't have the patience for it. My home economics teacher was telling us about this bread, and she actually went and bought it for us. And on a Monday morning, she gave it to us. It was like, I don't know what the name of the bread was called, but she called it charcoal bread. It was black. When you cut it, it's black. The dough that it was made from was black. That was the best tasting bread I've ever had. It was so nice. It was so fresh. And Monday morning, she got it for us. She went and bought it that morning before school. And she brought it to school, nice and fresh. And it's a class of like 28 people. So gaula, you don't obviously gaula a full slice by yourself. You gaula probably a piece that is like the one I'm holding now. But it was the best tasting bread I have ever had. That thing was so nice. Sasiqokelela ingquqo ngeminwe for uba sincamle sasonke. So next time when you go to the shop, guys, don't bribe, don't, especially if you have the capacity out taking song as a lunch, just buy bread to spoil yourself. Just buy a completely different type of bread, just to spoil yourself. Taste something different, other than isonga esusqale. I've got a bread maker at home, so I can make my own bread. I'm quite domesticated, Buffettio. I'm quite domesticated. I do laundry, I clean. I don't depend on anyone, man, which is a good trait, actually. Which is a good trait, because it means that Carol won't struggle. She won't have to do everything. Okay, man, lal before 10 minutes. Good night, I'll see you guys. It's nearly midnight here in Elizabeth's country. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Red versus red, same time. It's gonna be fireworks, that one. Okay, shalale.